This conference will now be recorded.
I don't know. I just got back. Yeah. God help us. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mayor Andrew Dawson. Do hereby call to order this meeting of the Sedalia City Council on this 15th day of April, the last meeting of our 2023-2024 session. Let us proceed with purpose and dedication to the values that guide our city. This meeting is now called to order. The first item on our agenda is prayer, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Matson, you have the floor.
Would you stand as able and join me in an invocation? Dear Lord and Father of all, we come to you this evening to ask your blessing as the Sedalia City Council members, mayor, administrators, staff meet to hear about, discuss, and make decisions for the betterment of our community and its citizens. We are so grateful for their service and dedication to this city. We ask your protection for all of our first responders, police, fire, sheriff, EMTs, ambulance service, hospital staffs, all who work 24/7 to serve and protect us, often at their own peril. We are grateful for the United States of America, our constitutional republic, for which so many thousands have fought and died to create and preserve for these 247 years. We would ask your blessing and protection for all military and civilians serving our country today, here and throughout the world, protecting our way of life, keeping us safe from threats from without, and very sadly, threats from within. And now as we leave tonight, please protect us and our loved ones. Keep us from harm until we meet again. And all this we pray in the name of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Bogus.
Here.
Hiller.
Here.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Here.
Bliss.
Here. All right, first item on our agenda is a retirement award, and for that, we're going to invite up David Murray to present that.
Don Ramey's been with us for 40 years with the water department and then transferred over to when we did the transition. A lot of dedicated nights and weekends and just work weeks. I mean, he's been just really dedicated to his job. So 40 years, he decided to call it quits and go on about some new adventures. So I just wanted to bring him up.
Thank you all. Like I said, I've dedicated a lot of years getting called out and everything.
A lot of long nights.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you almost every time that I have gotten up in the middle of the night when I've heard of water main break, in the afternoon, cold nights. You're there.
Yeah.
And that's been, since before I had my oldest son, who is 21. So I just want to tell you thank you, and we are going to miss you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Before you leave, I'd like to shake your hand. Thank you. Thanks for your service. I appreciate it. Stay in touch. You know where I live. Yeah. I have to call on you again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your service. Next item on our agenda is the Dare Car Show check presentation. We'll invite up Mr. Hiller to go ahead and present that.
I'd like to choose myself as a councilman and go as a citizen. A little slow, so. So this is my 33rd car show. This is the 15th year I've come before the council. I didn't start coming in front of the council until we moved it downtown. Mayor Bob Watson and City Councilman Joe Young invited me down here, said if it'll work, this is going to be the home. And this is the home for the Dare Car Show. Kind of a brief history on that show is it started in State Fair Shopping Center in conjunction with State Fair Motor Speedway. Then we moved it to Malamos. Then from Malamos we moved it to Roadie's Racing Collectibles, Steve Roadwalls. Then from there we moved it up around the courthouse, and from the courthouse we moved it down to here. I don't have to worry about it. We come in on Friday night, set it up, have it ready to go. It took an hour off my time in the morning. I used to have to get up at 4 o'clock, get down here and get it all set up, have it ready to go by 6. But anyway, this show this year, we had 131 cars. 50% of them were from out of town. I pay attention to that. Pretty proud of that. And the numbers were great. You know, Barbara Hayden, I dedicated the show in her memory because they've been supporters of mine. For years and years, they were supporters of mine, and it didn't really hit home until Sunday. I missed her phone call. She'd say, "Well, Robert, how we do?" And she always called me Robert because, as she told me, she had enough Bobs in her life. So anyway, I said, "Well, I haven't got it all totaled up yet." She says, "Well, let me know, because I want to always do $1 better than the year before." Well, I always told her that's Jerry Lewis's deal, not mine. So we didn't do as good as last year, but boy, we were close. We also did a Retrieving Freedom. We auctioned off a gun, and that money went directly to Bobby Hayden to give to Retrieving Freedom. If you add that in, yeah, we beat last year's total by $215. So the gun raised $650. The car show raised $20,565.93. Every penny we raised that day, we have it right here. I have a cashier's check for over $6,700. That was cash. I took it to the bank and got a cashier's check. I'm proud of that because we get everything donated. This is a community-backed deal, and it has been. That was my goal when I started it, and it's just got bigger every year. So I know our kids are going to keep in this DARE program for a long time. We have 2 scholarships. I think we almost got enough in the coffer now that maybe we're going to be able to buy another scholarship. And that's my goal, is to maybe have 5, 6 scholarships. These scholarships are for $1,000 each. They're locked in. I think we got 18 years. We just handed out 2, so I think there's 18 years left on the 2 that we have right now. So pretty proud of where this old race car has done for this community. So, Brad, I'm not going to give this to your chief, only because you were there helping me. David, you were there and picked out your trophy. I made 4 special trophies. I've already received 3 calls from 3 of the 4 guys, and they're pretty proud of those homemade trophies, of valve covers and desk lights. And I mean, I use my imagination. Wait till next year. Anyway, it's my pleasure to hand you this $20,000. Thanks, Bob.
just real quick, I would like to talk about some of the efforts that Bob does with the Dare Car Show. He makes it sound like it's a one-day event. Clearly, it's not. I can't even imagine how much work Bob and Maybelle put in throughout the year, getting donations and auction items, along with everything else. But our Dare program, and Brad might be able to attest this a little better than I am as a Dare mentor, but I think we probably have, if not the best Dare program, most successful Dare program in the country. I bet we're right up there. And that's through the Dare instructors and the dedication to the program from Bob and his connections throughout the city and the residents of the city that donate and support our Dare program. And this year we graduated over 300 kids in Sedalia, and that's over 300 kids every year that we're able to reach and hopefully motivate and instill some ideas to help them with their life. Bob, thank you very much for all of your work. Maybelle, you as well. Thanks, guys.
All right, up next, we'll invite back up Chief Woolery for badge pennies.
With the frequency you've been seeing me up here lately doing these, it seems like it happens all the time. But promotion of a commander to our agency is a very rare deal. We've been very fortunate to have two this year, and we're very blessed in the people and the picks that we had for that. When I got promoted, my position became available, and Kevin Tyler has filled that position. Kevin started in law enforcement in 1998 at the sheriff's office, so we've worked together for many years and known each other for a long time. He left and went overseas and led men and women overseas far larger than our agency that were under his command. So he has military leadership, law enforcement leadership, and we're very happy that he came back to us and has been rising through the ranks and ready to lead our folks as well. And tonight his son, Jacob, is going to pin him for the second time, I believe. So we're very fortunate to have that opportunity. You guys ready?
Next item on our agenda that we have is approval of the previous session minutes. We'll take the council meeting from April 1, 2024 first. I'd entertain the motion in a second.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any council discussion regarding those minutes? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll take the minutes from the special council meeting dated April 5th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we have a report of special boards, commissions, and committees. We have the acceptance of the Citizens Traffic Advisory Commission minutes dated March 13th, 2024. Do I have a motion in a second?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any council discussion regarding those minutes? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we have the roll call of our standing committees. Up first, we have Finance and Administration. Chairman Marshall, you have the floor.
I have three items tonight on my report. First is the introduction of the new CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, Brooke Wilkins.
Hello. How are you all?
Good.
Again, Brooke Wilkins. I am the new CEO and Executive Director for the Boys and Girls Club. Very excited to be here. I have felt very welcomed, not only by the staff and the board, but by the community. I continue to be amazed by the generosity that I have found in the Sedalia community, so I'm very excited to be here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, do you want to?
am RJ Lindstrom. I've been on the board for the Boys and Girls Club now for going on 14 or 15 years, and I am here to talk a little bit about our Bold Vision, Bright Future capital campaign that we're running. So a little bit about the club for those that may not be aware. We've been around since 1960 as the Boys Club, and moved or added girls in the, I think, 1990s. In today, our current club, we serve over 1,600 school-age kids in 14 club sites in 8 communities in and around Sedalia. So total membership as it stands today is 1,614, and of those, 520 average attendance every day. So between all those sites, we have a huge impact on over 500 kids every single day in the community. Of those kids, 57% qualify for free and reduced lunch, 80% are elementary, and 20% are tweens and teenage kids. So what we currently offer, 20-plus enrichment programs that include, homework help, STEAM, STEM, all sorts of programming aimed at elementary age kids and teenage kids. And during the 22 to 23 school year, over 80% of kids who regularly attended our clubs kept their grades the same or increased in both reading and math. So we have an impact on these kids' education when they come on a regular basis. So that leads us to our board did a feasibility study about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, and we wanted to figure out how we could expand our services and serve more kids in our community. And the result of that feasibility study was that we need a teen center in Sedalia to help add our programming and take it from the elementary age kids and follow them up to the junior high and the high school age. So we need a place for tweens and teens to go that offers supervised hands-on learning programs. So this is what we have been working towards for the last year or so on a capital campaign. This is located on 3rd Street, right across from the Katy Depot, on a piece of land that we currently own. We're excited about the location for a lot of reasons. One being we're going to be neighbors with your new project in the area, and we're close to downtown. But for our purposes, we're right down the Katy Trail from the junior high. Those kids will be able to walk right down the Katy Trail, and it basically drops them off right at our front door. So it's a very good location. This is our floor plan for our 30,000 square foot facility. And this is the kids side of the building and the kids entrance, but we have game room, clubhouse rooms separated between junior high and high school. We also have programming rooms and a large high school workshop and lab, which is kind of the big part of our program is the programming that we're going to offer in that building. Workforce development programming, partnering with employers and manufacturers in town to teach simple trades, get people interested in things like plumbing, electrical, woodworking, some of these life skills that some of the children may not be aware of, and can help them at home and help them with their careers after high school. We'll have a full kitchen, cafeteria area, and then we'll also have a full-size gymnasium, art and music rooms, fitness rooms, and then the whole left side of the building is for administrative offices. So we'll move out of our current location and move into the new building, so we're all in one place. So yeah, new programming, they'll focus on workforce development, academic success, life skills, all sorts of things that we can offer in this building when we have the kids in our space, after school, weekends, summers, all those types of things. And there's also an office labeled on the diagram for Burrell. We already have a partnership with Burrell that offers mental health services, but we're going to have a reserve space for them to be able to work with our kids and our families while they're there to help with mental health for teenagers, which we think is very, very important. Our path to success, what is our end goal is $10 million. And how we get there is a combination of local donations, foundations and grants, and government funding. So where we're at now, we have, out of the local donations, we are just under $5 million pledged and received. So we have come a very long way in a pretty short period of time. We just went public with the campaign in the middle of February. So now we're kind of out talking about it, promoting it, getting even more people involved now that we've laid the groundwork for the donations. We had a very generous donor who early on pledged a $500,000 matching gift to be used during the public phase of our campaign, so that if anybody wants to support this and thinks it's as worthy of a cause as I do, you can double your money by donating, and this matching fund will pull down for that. The Institute for Social Research and the School of Public Health at the University of Michigan conducted a study that found that every $1 invested in Boys and Girls Club returns $9.60 in current and future earnings, as well as savings to those communities. So there's a big impact to Sedalia and the surrounding areas by investing in the Boys and Girls Club and the Teen Center, and there will be benefits far outweigh the cost of building the facility. So how can you help? Right now it's an awareness piece. We just mostly wanted the City Council to be fully aware of what we're doing and what we intend to do with that building. And if there's any questions you guys have, you know, like I said, RJ Lindstrom, I'm not hard to find. I own Zephyr Manufacturing here in town, so you guys can reach out anytime, and we can chat about it. So, if you guys have any questions now. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you. And so next, our financial director will provide an update for major revenue and sources on collection trends.
Hi. So what you're looking at here is 12 months fiscal year to date of our tax revenue. Sales and use tax reported is on January sales within the community. We received that payment in March. We had a good recovery in March, in the month of March, where sales and use tax hit almost $200,000. And then fiscal year to date, if you add sales tax, use tax, and the marijuana sales tax, we're at $682,182, or 3.8% growth over the 12 months prior. If you recall, we budgeted 4% increase, so we're short just $34,000 in the budget for sales tax. Marijuana tax is pulled out as a separate line item. That was 3 months of deposits for last fiscal year. So what you're looking at is 3 months. The franchise tax, that includes the settlement from Charter that we received last April of $377,818. The additional $55,000 in fiscal year to date total over the prior year was mostly in electric and gas. Transportation taxes, they're higher over the last fiscal year due to gasoline tax, which is up 8.7%, and also vehicle fees offset some of that growth by 8.8%, and the vehicle sales for the 12 months were flat. Property tax payments, we collect almost $100,000 more dollars in the last 12 fiscal years than we did the same 12 months the prior year, with the majority of those receipts coming in December and January. Any questions on that chart?
Question, Council?
Okay. So now we're reporting our cash receipts in April. So that was on February sales tax, where we are up just in this first month over the last month, 12 months ago, of $42,281, or 2.8% growth, where we budgeted 4% growth. So we are short in this first month around $18,000.
Any questions, Council? Thank you, Director Powell.
And my last item is the Sedalia Lions Club is working to build a mini park along the Katy Trail. Mr. and Mrs. Moore would like to donate the land to the Lions Club, but the Lions Club is not equipped to deal with owning real estate, so they would like that the land be donated to the city for the use of building the mini park. The property is located at South Missouri and West 20th Street. We know from the past the Lions Club is successful in their project and have faith that this will also be successful. I recommend moving forward with the land donation and the construction of the mini park.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance approving and accepting the deed for the transfer of the property.
Bill number 2024-59, an ordinance approving and accepting a deed for the transfer of property commonly known as 1920 South Missouri Avenue from Josephina D. Moore and Michael T. Moore to the city of Sedalia, Missouri, in relation to the Sedalia Lions Club Mini Park Number 2 project.
Second reading?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for second reading. Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes for the second reading.
Bill number 2024-59, an ordinance approving and accepting a deed for the transfer of property commonly known as 1920 South Missouri Avenue from Josephina D. Moore and Michael T. Moore to the city of Sedalia, Missouri, in relation to the Sedalia Lions Club Mini Park Number 2 project.
Final passage?
Second.
A motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Bogus,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Up next, we have Public Works. Chairman Oldham, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. We have 3 items tonight. The first one is going to be a presentation on the progress of Safer Streets. This is a program we initiated over the last couple of years. This is designed to help mitigate traffic issues and provide designing solutions for, you guessed it, safer streets.
Evening.
And I apologize.
Oh, you're just fine.
Yeah.
So while you bring that up, I did want to commend the folks here tonight and the council. It's very rare that I go to a council meeting and hear so much good news in the community. Just the, Donald with Public Works and your DARE program and the Boys and Girls Club, it's great to hear. It really is.
Thank you.
Well, I know you sent that to me, and I did not get it looked at.
I can have another copy if you need me to.
Yeah, did you have it handy? So. Looking where I thought I would have saved it.
How about if I just resend it to you? Would that work?
Yeah, I don't have my
Okay.
email open here on this computer. So. I apologize, counsel. He had sent that to me, and I just did not get it loaded up tonight.
Sorry, we're booting up.
Pardon me?
We're booting up.
Oh, okay.
Am I able to just plug into a projector, or I can do it without the slides? I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you have it on your computer, then I've got a flash drive.
Okay.
I would motion to rearrange the order, but he needs to use his computer right now, so he can't do both at the same time. Bear with us just a few.
Oh, I can.
Can you do both? Can you, with council, entertain a motion to rearrange the order for Public Works while they provide the presentation. I motion to rearrange the orders but safer streets for all presentation as our third item.
Yeah.
So we can adjust the other two.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much. All right, the second item I have tonight is, in discussion with our budget presentation, we determined that the Public Works Department is in need of a skid steer and its forestry attachment. So we need to approve a sales agreement with Foley Equipment for the purchase of a skid steer and its attachment.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance authorizing the sales agreement for the purchase of the skid steer.
Bill number 2024-60, an ordinance authorizing the sales agreement for the purchase of a skid steer, mulcher, and rotary brush cutter for the street department.
Please read.
Second.
For the motion, the second for the second reading, any council discussion regarding the sales agreement? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-60, an ordinance authorizing a sales agreement for the purchase of a skid steer, mulcher, and rotary brush cutter for the street department.
Final passage.
Second. Have a motion, and second for the final passage of this bill, any council discussion?
Just to be clear, this will interchange with what we already own, right? The attachment. And it's part of the budget, right? Yeah.
All right, very good. Any other council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
All in favor.
Third item I have tonight is, again, in our budget discussion, it was determined that our water department needed to replace a van and a pickup truck. And so we were able to, through the Missouri Highway Patrol, purchase a heavy-duty pickup truck.
All right, call for the reading. Call for the reading of the ordinance authorizing a vehicle sales invoice.
Bill number 2024-61, an ordinance authorizing a vehicle sales invoice for the Water Pollution Control Department.
Second reading?
Second.
Have a motion, and a second for second reading of the sales agreement. Do I have any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
2024-61, authorizing the vehicle sales invoice for the Water Pollution Control Department.
Final passage.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second for the final passage of this bill. Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson. All in favor.
All right. Now we'll start discussing safer streets.
Yeah, four.
Yeah.
All right. Evening again. Michael Kramer with Wilson & Company, and we're here to talk about your Safe Streets and Roads for All project, also known as SS4A. It's an action planning project, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that is. Tonight, I really want to talk to you about mainly why it matters, and then a little bit about the program itself, a little bit about the crash data that we've seen, and then where we go from here, what are some of the next steps. So why does it matter? You know, and forgive me, I'm an emotional person, and this subject is near and dear to my heart. Last year, there were about 41,000 fatalities in the United States, crash-related fatalities. In 2013, there were only 32,000. 2019, that rose to 36. 2021, what happened? We had COVID. People were out there driving on the streets. They thought the police weren't out there driving on the streets, and they went a little bit nuts. There were about 43,000 crash fatalities. And in Missouri alone, in 2022, there were over 1,000 fatalities. So that's a lot of fatalities. 10-year total in Missouri is 9,000 fatalities. 32 fatalities in Pettis County. So some of your friends, your neighbors, your relatives. Sedalia alone over the past 5 years has had about 20 serious injury crashes a year, and along with about 2 fatal crashes a year. So you've had 10 fatalities in the last 5 years. Again, these are our family members, our friends, your spouse, your children, your coworker, your employer. You know, the annual cost, according to NHTSA, is about $10 billion in fatal and serious injury crashes. They estimate that a fatal injury crash costs about $12 million to society, about $1.2 million for a serious injury crash. So, you know, if you hear nothing else tonight, hear from me, buckle up, put your phone down, and slow down. Arrive home safely. You know, one other thing I'll mention is it's part of the safe system approach, is this also, you know, it takes a toll not only on families, but on your first responders, on your PD, and your emergency responders. The Safe Streets and Roads for All program is a grant program that aims to reduce and eliminate fatalities and serious injuries. It implies a safe systems approach where humans make mistakes, humans are vulnerable, and responsibility for the crashes is shared. That goes to system managers, planners, designers, vehicle manufacturers, law enforcement, and traffic management personnel, and then also the drivers, the system users. The action plan components. So it starts off with a leadership commitment and goal setting. In 2022, this council adopted a resolution with a goal of eliminating traffic deaths and serious injuries by 2032. And then subsequently applied for a grant to do this project and entered into a grant agreement with the Federal Highway Administration in June of 2023. The other components of the plan include the planning structure, that's the city leadership, task force, public engagement, safety analysis. So that's us looking at your crash data and reviewing the crash trees analysis and systemic analysis. And then, of course, we have engagement, talking to the public and seeing, you know, where they believe the issues are, and equity. So looking at how disadvantaged communities are affected by the traffic fatalities and injuries. We look at several sources for the equity data, including Justice 40. And then looking over your city's existing policies, how do you go about designing your roadways, and what type of intersection improvements do you do, that type of thing. And then we look at developing strategies from not only the crash tree analysis, but the public engagement and bringing in ideas of the public. And then ultimately, there's progress and transparency, and that simply means that at the end of this, you know, you're going to be required to actually post the document online and follow its life as it moves forward. So as far as the action plan, right now we're in the data collection and analysis, and we're moving quickly into looking at safety emphasis areas. And so we'll be meeting with your task force here in the near future and seeing what the task force would like to really focus on when it comes to the different types of accidents and such, and looking at various priority corridors that jump out in the analysis. Then we'll be moving into creating the implementation plan and public engagement, and then finally the action plan itself. A big part of the project is mapping your crashes. So we looked at data from Sedalia PD as well as the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Thank you to Tina with Sedalia PD for providing the initial set of crash data to us to review. Again, we looked at 2018 through 2023, and part of 2023's data is still incomplete. Just over 4,400 crashes within the city of Sedalia over that time span. About 60% of those, thankfully, are property damage only. So about 2,600 of the 4,400 crashes. Again, so these are bend crashes that you're seeing on the map, and the white or maybe one or two crashes all the way up to the red, which are, you know, the higher injury or higher crash areas. Fatal and serious injury crashes, which is what the study focuses on. So we had 95 serious injuries in our data set and 10 fatalities. And most of your fatals and serious, as you might expect, they're along the Highway 50 corridor, along the 65 corridor, and along 16th Street. So those corridors really, you know, pop out as, you know, part of the high injury network. Of course, there's also outliers. There's, you know, serious injury crashes and fatalities that aren't along those corridors. You know, again, you know, serious injury crashes, you know, they're important to us too. You know, a lot of times they're a disabling event. People might lose their ability to perform the job that they've done. Long recovery times, you know, they seriously affect families.
So, can I ask, so at 32nd and 65, I'm seeing a red that's, if I understand the key, there were 4 and 5 fatalities there. And then there's the red dot inside that red travels.
Yeah, so the smaller dot there is the fatality.
There's several bigger in that intersection, right?
The bigger red is the serious injuries.
See that, Bill?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
And again, you know, we'll be diving into this in greater detail with the task force and looking at some of the factors that went into these, whether it's alcohol related or lack of seatbelt use, failure to yield, speeding, you know, those types of issues. And, you know, again, if you take nothing else away from me tonight, buckle up, phone down, slow down, and get home safely. Engagement opportunities. So we'll have the task force meetings coming up. And so the task force, you know, that's going to be a group of individuals from the community that hopefully represent the community and can help drive the direction of this project and of the action plan. And then we'll use that to draft the vision and goals and to solicit feedback. And then we'll use it as we go into public outreach to help us reach persons to show up and participate in public meetings where we can get additional feedback. We'll also have a little bit of website and marketing and likely some citizen polls on there, and trying to reach a larger and more general audience. Again, our next steps, task force meetings, additional presentations, our systemic data analysis, public outreach, and the action plan documentation. And then there's a few resources I listed on there. So MoDOT.org/safety. That's what your State Highway Transportation Department is doing towards public safety. You can find their Drive to Zero campaign. You can also find it on SaveMoLives.com. And then the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they have all kinds of statistics and also promotional materials on how to reduce fatalities and serious injuries. And with that, I will open up for any additional questions or comments you may have.
Council, have any more questions for this gentleman?
In other communities that you've had this program in, what goals or solutions have you seen to be effective to help mitigate those issues?
So first I'll say that as far as this particular program, it is a brand new program. Okay. We do, safety studies throughout the Midwest and Southwest as far as within Wilson. Okay. And so, oftentimes it may be a corridor study and you may see intersection improvements and such. Okay. And with this program in particular, in addition to those things, I think we'll probably see, better communication with your law enforcement and your first responders and educational outcomes as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Council? Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me.
And again, I apologize for not being as prepared as I did.
Just fine. Thank you.
All right, that's all I have. All right, thank you, Chairman Oldham. Next, we have Public Safety. Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
As continued follow-up from the last couple of council meetings, we talked about potential locations of fire stations and the challenges of the Washington Street Bridge being out of service. Chief Irwin may have an update here.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, I do not have a whole lot of information to pass on. A lot of people are, it's a complex issue with the cameras and trying to get data and all of that. So I have talked to a number of people, a number of companies, gauging from 6 to 8 weeks to 6 to 8 months being able to put cameras up along the rail corridor. Those quotes have basically run from anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000. Nobody can give a specific, because we have not let enough time pass where they can come out and actually look at our sites and see what all of those things are going to be. And trying to get companies to just drop what they're doing to come over and do it. I've had a couple of them that have been able to do that. So looking at cameras was our first option of just an immediate type of thing, which seems like it would probably be the best thing for us to do until we can decide whether we want to put a temporary location up or we want to put a permanent fire station on the north side. We are looking at putting cameras up on at Main and Grand, Engineer, and Emmett, which are the three major thoroughfares minus Missouri, but to putting those cameras up so we can monitor those rail intersections. We've even also considered putting them on the Washington Street Viaduct to look down both east and west. I did go east and west down the rail corridor. So there are options that we've got. We're just trying to wait to get some solid numbers back before I can bring them to you. And I apologize for the delay. I know you guys want to get this done. I know the community wants to get it done, but unfortunately I cannot move any faster than the information that I've gotten. On the issue of a temporary fire station, going to the north side, we have had some options come up with putting a building up, a smaller building to put the fire truck in. On my last update, we had the crew quarters that we were going to bring in that was going to be to the tune of a couple hundred, $115,000. In discussions, we could buy a single wide mobile home from Pitts out of Warrensburg or out of Warsaw for about $87,000, and we could sell it when we're done with it, so we would recoup some of our costs. So that is an option that we've got.
Would that accommodate?
Yes, it's a four-bedroom trailer. It would have to go, we'd have to look at it because I'm not sure we allow trailers in by city code anymore, new trailers. So we would have to look at that as an emergency type of thing just to house firefighters until the viaduct got fixed. But those are the things that we are looking at. We have located a number of projected sites that we could put them at. Going through the map was the cemetery over off of Engineer, the rail spur, Johnson and Washington, back over there. We've also looked at the intersection off of Market over there by the car dealership where they've got a lot of dirt. It's a Fidelity Community Economic Development property. We've looked at that as well. Basically, what we need to do is decide, do we want to put a temporary fire station up? Are the cameras going to work? Or do we want to build a permanent fire station on the north side? Again, I will caution you, if we go to the north side with a permanent fire station, we will have to put another fire station on the south side at some point because we can't move our problems from one to the issues that we have going north, we will have going south. So really the ball's in your all's court on what you want to do, how you want us to move forward. We can put a small building up. We can house it with a 3-man engine company, which is not ideal because there would be no squad there. We just don't currently have the manpower to put squads and engine companies at both stations. So we can do that, or we can get the viaduct or the bridge fixed, place a new bridge in, and build behind the central fire station as it is now. So those are kind of the options that we have available to us.
If I could also shed a little bit of, or give a little bit of an update on pushing the bridge engineer. We have been pushing the engineer, and they seem to work at their own speed. But
everybody does.
But we will continue to push them. In the meantime, though, our city engineer Davies, ACA Work, and our ops director Bray and I went out searching for temporary options. Davies devised a plan to create additional footings, then put concrete barrier blocks next to the decaying columns to shore them up and provide added support. With this in place, we could take added precautions by making the bridge one-way traffic to the north to keep all of the weight in the center of the bridge where the supports are in good shape. Oops. Get back to my notes here. In good shape, and which are from the 2014 project. So they're the larger beams in the middle that were new in 2014. We need to continue to vet out this idea, but believe we can do this in-house for approximately $50,000 to $75,000. This would get the bridge open quickly to resolve the emergency access concerns while we continue to work with the expert on a long-term solution. Note that this work would not cover up the areas that they need to look at and plan for so that we could still get to them for the long-term solution. It just goes in between them and puts in a temporary structure that will support the weight to keep it from going side to side, as well as making it one way would keep all of the weight in the middle so that we wouldn't have the same concerns of toppling the bridge over one side or the other. Again, we will continue to vet this out. We have that question into the bridge expert. As of Friday, we still hadn't heard back, so yeah, we still have not heard back from him, but we'll keep being the squeaky wheel
and beat on his door. So, any questions or?
I'm for that.
Okay.
And the cameras, that's, to be clear, that's just basically to see if there's a train on the track.
Yes.
So you know which route to take.
That is correct.
Correct.
That's great. Yeah, I think that shoring solution is a good solution, and I'm glad that we came up with that. And I do want to ask one kind of obvious question. I apologize I couldn't be at our meeting on Thursday, Chief. But station masters, we used to have a station master here in Sedalia, and they have a regular schedule for those trains. And I'm guessing you were
I have reached out to
you know the regular schedule. So I know we need a camera. I'm not saying we don't, but on a daily basis, you know when a train should be going through Sedalia, plus or minus. And then you need some kind of confirmation because they're never on schedule.
They're either early or late.
Right, but but it's combining the schedule with some way to verify.
Yeah. And we've also reached out to Union Pacific. They have it's like an EOC basically. That's their dispatch center where they're monitoring all the trains coming through. We reached out to them. I've reached out to a number of UP people to make sure that a phone call is made to our dispatch center if a train goes into an emergency or making an unscheduled stop. I gave them that information, but I have not had a call back from anybody from the UP yet to say, hey, we've got it where it's going to your dispatch center. They have the information. I just have not been confirmed that they will make that phone call. UP has told me that they generally make those phone calls if a train's going to be there longer than 15 minutes anyway. So, but we do have that reached out and their schedule, and they come in pretty regular.
And one last dumb question, and we have the number for the dispatcher somewhere who can tell you this is the location of trains at this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but what we're trying to do is get them to make a call into Joint Communications.
perfect, yeah.
So as soon as a train goes into emergency, they would know, and their dispatch center would be able to call us and say, hey, train is stopping or going to stop. These intersections will be affected. That's what we're looking to try to get from the UP. We are just trying to look at redundant systems. I explained this at the last time that I was here. We have redundancy systems in place for fires, for everything, that if this plan fails, we have a redundancy or backup system to it. So that's what we're looking at for the cameras. So we have, our first line of defense is our law enforcement. So if our officers are out and they see a train is stopped, calling dispatch and then letting us know. Our second one is going to be from the UP saying, hey, this is an issue. They've got a train stopped. Our third one is going to be the cameras, and then.
Great. Okay. That wasn't clear to me. I wanted to make sure people that are worried about it understand that we already are doing everything we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so your response is 4 minutes, trying to be in 4 minutes.
Yes.
With the train on the tracks, what delay does that have?
Depends on what tracks what intersections are blocked.
So you have to go 65 around.
So if I have to go 65 and around, okay, so let's say all of the intersections are blocked.
Correct.
Basically all across.
Worst
case scenario, it's going to take my engine from the fire headquarters station 11 and a half minutes to get to Boonville and Katy Trail, Boonville and Katy Trail.
So
that is what I timed it at a non-emergency response. So it would be faster, but I just can't let a truck run lights and sirens across to gauge a time. I'd really like to, but I'm not sure if they get in an accident if we're not going to be liable for something. So basically, I caught the intersections at 16th and Limit, Broadway and Limit, and 3rd and Limit, caught all of those red. They basically turned red on me as I was pulling up. And it took me 11 and a half minutes to go all the way around 65 and then across. But it takes about the same amount of time for the East Sedalia station, fire headquarters station, to make it out to past Centennial Park over there in that area as well. So you still have a long, and that's the issue with moving the station to the north side. It takes just as long for that station to get there as it would be if all of the tracks. So 11 and a half minutes is basically a non-emergency response. So we could probably shave a couple minutes off of that.
To the city administrator, the solution of getting the bridge up for at least one-way traffic, what is the timeline for doing that?
kind of depends on how quick we can get it vetted out, but that would be weeks. Chris, not,
Oh, Chris, come on up.
yeah.
Yeah, come on up, Chris.
I'm gonna put him on the spot. I mean, if it's can be all done, if we get it vetted out, after getting it vetted out, we're probably a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I always underestimate them.
I'm sitting here thinking about the time frame, so
Mhm.
I would say somewhere between 30 and 45 days. Once it's all vetted out and we're ensured that the city is comfortable with the risks that go along with that.
Well, and what I'm trying to find out, what I would like to find out is from step one till now we can cross the bridge, total, are we still looking at that number?
I would say once the decision is made by the city to go ahead with this type of solution with the risks that are involved, that you're looking at anywhere from 30 to 45 days.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question. What are the risks involved?
So this is a structural road, bridge. I'm not a structural engineer, so these plans will not be stamped by me. So it is a risk that the city takes on by opening a road that's been recommended to be closed.
Who's doing the work? City?
Mhm.
At this point, it would be the city.
All right.
I think if we went out and to a contractor, it would lengthen the time. So that would,
And double the cost.
yeah, it would increase the cost anyway. So, and that was part of the thought behind this plan is that if we could, doing that in-house, we could do it quicker. There were some other solutions that we considered, but they would be longer time frames.
Correct.
I'm for shoring up the bridge and moving it forward for at least one-way traffic.
Yeah. Now, in addition to what Engineer Davies had mentioned is the risk, if you will, of we can't have a expert, if you will, certify that this is going to be okay. The other part is that we're trying to do with the bridge expert is will that keep us from being able to move forward with that program to have them help us, get that. I would say to you all that that might be a risk that you all are willing to take, because the downside is that is okay, then we have to go hire our own engineer. And so, I would just put that out there to you. That might be a risk that you all are willing to take.
And we won't take any risk to the citizens of the city. It's not worth that. However, we know what we are needing, the vision. Chief, you coming up with the prefab or the trailer. I know we can put prefab within city limits. I know that you can resell that prefab home. So that is a good suggestion as far as how to house our firemen, should we need to do that over on the north side someplace. That would definitely be one of the things that I would look more into.
Well, now, so just the building, getting the building, I talked to a contractor, and we still would have to put this out for RFP RFP proposal for the building and for the trailer, because we'd have to open that up, because so you're at least looking at a 15 to 25 day window. I'm not sure how long those have to stay open. Maybe it's 30. So we would have to look at that. So we're at least that far away from even getting it done. Now, speaking with the building manufacturers, we can do an uninsulated building. They can have it here in 8 weeks. So, and that's here and built. If you want to go with a larger building that could possibly, the problem with putting that metal building up is that it will be a permanent structure. So then what do you do with it when you're done? So we have to pick the location that we want to put at it so that it becomes something that we can use in the future.
Yeah,
The-
storage,
It could be storage, that is correct, yeah. So, anyway, those are the things, so we're also looking at concrete, bringing in utilities and those kind of things. So, those numbers, I can't give you an exact number because I don't know what those numbers are, but, as soon as we opened it, it went to RFQ, and once we got it open and all of that, then we could move forward pretty quickly.
Well, if we decide to build a new bridge, we still need to fix the Washington Street Bridge as soon as possible.
And that's correct, yes. We need a bridge over to the north side, because a temporary fire station is only going to be that. It's going to be temporary until that bridge is fixed, unless this body decides they want to add a third fire station. So, and then we're looking at building 2 fire stations and staffing it, which honestly I'm all for, and I really wish you guys would say, hey, let's do that. I really do. But I understand the fiscal responsibility of what it's going to come to for salaries and building fire stations and everything that comes with it.
Well, and staffing, I mean, even if it's temporary, we've got to staff it. If we can shore this bridge, and I guess I hear Chris saying that, and I agree, but at some, we have talked, we can't find a structural engineer that you could create a drawing for, or a concept for, and they could stamp it, like a Burns and Mac or somebody I can't get the main structural company, but I'm assuming you've made phone calls and tried to find somebody saying, hey, I need to get something done quick, and I am an engineer, I can't provide the basis for it. They can, it doesn't have to be a full-blown type of thing. It can be a description. It can be an engineer that comes down and looks at this, and the problem is the truth is nobody wants to put their stamp on it, because when you put your stamp on it, they have a liability too. So they're going to make darn sure that structurally, but I would still, if it takes 30 days or some period of time as we do this, we can draw that temporary structures plan and document and describe what we're going to do for the shoring, and I would think we can get we should at least try to get a stamp on that, because that transfers that liability to a large degree. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think, Counselor, that right now, obviously, the city is working with the state of Missouri through the BEAT program,
right.
And that is, their program is very set up, and they have a certain process, and that process takes 90 days, and they give the cities then 3 options. One is, a quick fix, a medium fix, and a long-term fix. Even if we go through that process, and as we continue through that process, the quick fix is still 18 to 30 months away. Everybody's busy. All the structural engineers, every engineering firm is busy. So just because we have an emergency doesn't necessitate somebody else coming in and doing this.
But the shoring is a lot smaller project than the overall fix. That's what I'm saying.
And I understand that. But a structural engineer, just in my opinion, and having a license myself, I'm going to go through all the calculations, look at it, and it's not going to be any quicker than anybody else. Unless you have a structural engineer, you can find one that's sitting around doing nothing.
Well, I don't think you can do that, but I'm saying the shoring project's much smaller than the overall fix of the entire structure. You're saying you can't find anybody to do that. That's all my question is. You've tried and we can't find anybody.
We haven't gone that route yet.
Okay.
But I can certainly talk to structural engineers and see if they're willing to look at, some diagrams that I can put together and see if they're willing to stamp it.
I would appreciate that. I think that'd be one thing that we could ask you to do. I mean, I'm just asking you to make some attempt, make some calls, see what we can find out.
I can do that.
I live in the world too, and I can't imagine that we couldn't. But I mean, I trust you. I'm not saying I'm not arguing with you, but I think I think it's at least important to try that.
I'll be glad to do that, Counsel. I'm just, again, telling you from my viewpoint as a licensed engineer, I'm gonna go through all the calculations that I need to before I stamp anything.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean,
and I would expect the same thing with structural engineer.
I would too, but to just pick up that weight is, and a smaller shoring project as opposed to the overall thing, I think you might be able to find it. I've got a background too, and I'm just saying it. I think we could. I'm not saying we will, but I think it's worth trying.
I will see what we can find out.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The part of that.
I mean, if council, I mean,
Part of that too is we, again, the engineer that has come out and looked at it, that is the bridge expert. We are trying to get him to even call us back.
I get it.
To run this concept by him. He might be able to do it, so.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kelvin. I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I really think we at least need to say just the shoring of one end of the bridge is not the entire project, and it's really just a couple section modulus. It's not, and I'm not arguing with Chris. He's an engineer, he's a stamp carrying engineer. I'm not. I'm just an engineering educator. But it's possible that we could find someone that said, yeah, we can calculate the shoring. And I've got a couple guys I can call. I'll call Dr. Larson in the K-State and see if he'll put it together. He can stamp it. But we'll try a couple different things. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Just curious. We go shoring up the bridge, one-way traffic, emergency only, that kind of thing. How do we keep normal traffic off the bridge?
I'm not sure that was the plan. I think originally the plan just to keep traffic, all they could do was move north, so there would be no southbound traffic.
So it's anybody can move north, just one way, everybody.
And we put a weight limit on the bridge,
Okay.
whatever, I don't know what the
Right,
vehicle
yeah.
that you would cross over with, but.
Just for consideration, part of the concept is, it's not just fire that needs.
Ambulance.
It's ambulance, police, all of that is of concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not emergency only, it's anybody northbound.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how you'd stop everybody else. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason I'm asking, is like, how do you stop that? Yeah.
Now, there are lights on the bridge that we can put a red light for the southbound traffic, and we can certainly sign it, put all the signs in the world up there, and then we had talked about we would put cones to make sure that it is just one lane, and
You're
again,
still gonna have southbound traffic.
yeah. Well,
The only
hopefully.
way that I would see that you're gonna stop that southbound traffic is that you put spikes up that you can come north, but if you try to go south, those spikes are gonna come up and you're gonna lose time.
That is certainly not the engineer's recommendation.
They laughed when you said it.
Otherwise.
The fire chief made a recommendation, that's great, he can.
Did you say that, Chief? All right, thanks.
As long as
I'm
we're
not
under the
saying
weight
it.
limit, we're good, right?
I just have one last question for the council. Is I know that we are working on short-term goals and what we're trying to get done in the quick. It would really help me make decisions, help my department make some decisions of what the long-term plan is for the Sedalia Fire Department in this body. Do we want to honestly take a look at running 3 stations, or do we want to stay at 2? I can justify staying at 2 with our call volumes. I can justify going to 3 by being able to spread out and have more people on and making it a safer work environment for myself and my firefighters. Just really need some direction from you guys of where you want this department to go and how you want it to get there.
All right, to that end, I would entertain a motion, with regards to either one of those options.
Didn't we have a conversation, or was it part of strategic planning a few years back, to move the Sedalia Fire Department to a 3-station model?
Yeah, 2.5, almost 3 years ago.
I kind of thought we kind of put it in that direction already, because that's where we want to head to.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it kind of fell to not the wayside a little bit. The discussion stopped because of
Location.
Loss of locations.
price, and time.
Yep.
So
I'm for it.
So then it came back to the last strategic plan that, to drop it back to the 2.
Yes.
Because of the location analysis that.
Was it to drop it down to 2, or was it just to postpone discussions of the third?
It was to go to 2. That's when we decided that, looked at moving this, staying behind the current central fire station location.
Yeah, because something needs to be done to replace the
Central fire station, yes.
And we are 5 years into a 5-year plan.
Yes, sir, we are. We may be 6 years into a 5-year plan.
Yeah, I'm for 3 stations.
Okay, I just, it doesn't have to be a decision made today, but I need some kind of direction of where we're going, because if we're gonna look at a temporary station, if this body wants us to go to 3 fire stations, then it only makes sense to put that station where the permanent station is gonna be, versus having to then spend more money getting utilities and concrete and all of that. It would help make my decision process.
I'm for the headquarters, I'm for a station on the north side, and I'm for a station somewhere around Centennial.
I don't know.
Yeah,
if
now
we
that's,
can make that.
Chris, can I interrupt you?
I'm not trying to back you into a corner, really, I'm not.
What I was going
Go
to say
ahead.
was that I don't know that we can make that decision until we have.
Oh, we can't make the decision, but I'm just saying.
More info on how much it's gonna cost. The bridge is a big part of it, and then we talked about another bridge. I think that there's a lot of money involved here, and we need to know a little bit more about that before we can make that call on all that.
And again, it is just to make some of my decisions a little easier, and I apologize, I'm really hoping you could make my job a little easier.
So let me get my licks in.
Okay.
So, to begin with, when we were talking about a 3-station model, that was gonna be something on the north, something near Centennial, something near Hubbard, is my recollection.
Yes, sir.
Well, now, now we're really talking about 4, and Chris mentioned that, really, when we add that 4th station somewhere, all I want is to have coverage for the southeast part of the city, right?
Right.
And then one concern that really hasn't been expressed very much, but that I'm seriously concerned about, is Smith Cotton High School, because it's very far to the southwest. I don't want them with outside coverage. So that's,
and currently they are.
I'm going to come down on however we do it, and I'm not saying 100%, but we can't uncover 800 people in the southeast to cover 800, and I know we won't do that, right? We need to get coverage that the weakest link after, we definitely need something north of the railroad tracks, right? But after that, our weakest link, from what I understand, from
southwest,
southeast, and southeast, and then southwest with regard to Smith Cotton.
So the way that we had it planned, and what we're looking at is that where we put the location, if we go to the north side and we build a permanent station on the north side, we would have to have a fire station somewhere in the southeast corner of the city. Centennial Park, somewhere 24th Street, somewhere in that area, which would pick up your south and southeast sections of the east and southeast sections of the city, as well as some of the northeast side. This station would catch some of the north. So then our deficiencies then would be south and southwest.
But are we going to then eliminate Central?
Yes, so Central Fire Station would go away.
Once we build the southeast.
Yes, so once we build the north side, we'd have to go first. Then once that station is complete, then the station on the east, south, and southeast side of town would be built. Once that station was built, we would abandon Central Fire and move out to there. So you would have three stations.
So it's a little bit, at some point we have 4 for a while, then we'll go back to 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what's going to, all right, thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
I kind of said that I would like to go look at our strategic planning and move to 3-station model. I just want to also state that I want to raise some concerns about putting our bridge on some concrete blocks and expecting the public to drive over it, and then a how many ton apparatus to drive over it as well. That puts, I understand, we want to move quick, try to get the bridge fixed as quick as we can. It's going to get fixed, but I don't want to put public lives in jeopardy for a few days. I would be, if it's removed, since I am for moving towards a 3-station model, I am for putting a temporary temporary location on the north side, so we can shore up that north side location as well.
Yeah.
This whole time, engineering stamp or not, I don't think I feel comfortable allowing our citizens, letting our citizens drive on a bridge that's on top of concrete blocks. So I'll just say that.
So, stamp, some kind of stamp plan, showing it's gonna be good. If we get a
The
nice
ink
list.
is nice on a piece of paper, but
Well, I understand, but it'll be okay if we get engineers involved, get a stamp on it, and get that shoring plan done. It'll be fine.
There needs to be a second. All right, we're ready to move along.
Yeah, just to be clear, I mean, we are just trying
that's
to
just, yeah,
pull
I'm just
options
guessing.
together.
That's just options, yeah, and that's my opinion on the option.
Thank you.
This is not that interesting. Because of COVID, we got behind on replacing our, patrol vehicles, police patrol vehicles, and now you can get new cars, and we have bids, and I need an ordinance, accepting the bid purchase 2 vehicles from, WK, under budget.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the bid for the purchase of vehicles for the Sedalia Police Department.
Bill number 2024-62, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a bid for the purchase of vehicles for the Sedalia Police Department.
Second reading?
Second.
Any council discussion regarding the second reading?
It is under budget.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-62, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a bid for the purchase of vehicles for the Sedalia Police Department.
Final passage?
Second?
I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Marshall,
Yes.
Bogus,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
All in favor.
I need an ordinance approving and accepting a Hero Funds USA grant that, Chief Irwin got to cover, ballistic vests and half ballistic vests and helmets for firefighters and EMT.
All right. Call for the reading of the ordinance approving and accepting the grant agreement.
Bill number 2024-63, an ordinance approving and accepting a Hero Fund USA grant agreement.
Second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the second reading of the bill. Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-63, an ordinance approving and accepting a Hero Fund USA grant agreement.
Passage?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for a final passage of this bill. Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Bogus,
Yes.
Hiller, Cross,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham,
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
All in favor.
Bill passes. That's all we got. Thank you. Chairwoman Foster.
I have no report this evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is liquor licenses. Call for the reading of the liquor licenses.
We have 4 renewals tonight. Scott Hewitt doing business as Colton Steakhouse and Grill at 4101 West Broadway for liquor by the drink and Sunday sales. Kathy Getz doing business as Break Time number 3084 at 318 West Broadway for Sunday sales. Kathy Getz doing business as Break Time number 3083 at 808 East Broadway for Sunday sales. And Kathy Getz doing business as Break Time number 3079 at 2801 West Broadway for Sunday sales.
Motion to approve and block?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve en bloc. Any council discussion? Have you heard none? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, they are approved. Now we have our adjourned sine die. I will go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn sine die.
Motion to adjourn, sign and die? Is it sine or is it dot D?
Sine die.
Sine die.
The way it says. Sign.
All right.
Got a motion?
Do we need a vote on that?
Sure.
What's
it gonna hurt?
Sure.
Would we like to share
Nobody
with
vote
the
no already.
audience what we're talking about doing?
So what we're doing here is this is a formality where you have it's the 2023-2024 session of the council. We're now adjourning that council with no date at which that council will come back. It's essentially in the past. And what we're going to do next, after we do this, is we're going to swear in the newly elected officials. They will take their seats, and then the 2024-2025 council will be reconstituted. So hopefully that explains what we're doing for everybody. All right. Any other comments from the council? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. We will now go ahead and swear in the newly elected officials.
I need the four elected to come up. All right, if y'all will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess all the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of, and then say, of the city of today, Missouri. That I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Missouri, the provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of the third class, and the ordinances of the city, and faithfully demean myself in office. Okay, I just need you to come and sign those over here, please. No. Okay. There's that. Congratulations, sir. Thanks. Thanks. Congratulations. Congratulations. No, I knew that. Yes. Mr. Robbins. Here's your certificate of election. Congratulations.
Okay, next item of business is election of the mayor pro tem. I'll go ahead and open the floor for nominations.
I would like to nominate Tina Boggess, please.
I'll second that. Now we have a motion and a second for Councilwoman Boggess.
I nominate Tom Oldham.
We have a motion on the floor for Councilman Oldham.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other nominations? All right, having heard none, we'll go ahead and close nominations.
We needed a second for the one that, Tom, okay.
We'll go ahead and close nominations, and we'll go ahead and push this to a vote. So,
Okay, for Mayor Pro Tem for Tina Boggess Robinson. This is a roll call vote.
No.
Okay. Oldham,
No.
Marshall,
Fortuna? Yes.
Bogus,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yeah.
Cross,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
And then for Mayor Pro Tem for Oldham, Robinson,
Yes.
Oldham,
Yes.
Marshall,
No.
Bogus,
No.
Hiller,
No.
Cross,
No.
Foster,
No.
Bliss.
No.
So Tina, 6 yes, 2 no. Tom Oldham, 2 yes, 6 no.
All right, very good. So our new Mayor Pro Tem, Councilwoman Boggs. All right, on the committee assignments, I'd like to go ahead and, if council would allow me to, I'd like to go ahead and postpone those to the May 6th meeting. If I can get a motion to postpone as well.
Motion to postpone. Second.
I have a motion and a second in council discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. New business. I don't think we have any new business.
Nothing on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Now I'll go ahead and move on to miscellaneous items from the city council and city administrator. Anybody from the council got anything they'd like to say?
I missed the Dare show, the car show. Sorry, I was out of town. Would have loved to have done it. Been there every year.
Chris, I'll tell you like to everybody else, I don't worry about the ones that weren't there. I just take care of the ones that were.
Wish I was
We had a good
there.
day. We had a good day for it, and it was all in memory of Barbara Hayden. Barbara Hayden was the founding mayor in California that let the pilot program be taught in 1983 in California. There is taught all in every state in the United States, and I think it covers, last I knew, it covered like 13 countries in Europe. So there's a national-wide deal starting in California. It's called Dare of America. I wrote a bill a couple of years ago, gave it to Brad Pollitt. He said that he's got a couple of people interested in it, but I'm trying to get done. Been trying to do this way back at Delbert Scott and Tom Self days. I'm trying to get a bill passed where the state of Missouri will buy all the educational materials for the DARE program. We're talking $1.49 a book. Every kid that goes through DARE has to complete that book. If we get it passed, there's communities that have dropped the program because they didn't have somebody raising money for them. It means a lot to me if we get this through. Here, when Sue Eckert was given the blessings on the bowling alley, I took advantage of it. I spent $30 and bought one of the governor's books, and at the same time, I handed him that bill, and he gave it to his publicist, public relation lady, and said, "Take this with you. I want to read it in the car on the way back to the city." So it's as high as it can go in the state. If we get it done, hallelujah. I've never taken credit for the car show. It's always been dedicated to somebody, and I'm pretty damn proud of it.
I'd like to thank Bob and Maybell for all the work they do. I know this isn't just a one-day job. They start working the next day on getting supplies and stuff to run the next Dare car show. Good job, Bob, Maybell.
There's an opportunity for the city staff to be a little bit more engaged out in the community, and we do already have several city staff that volunteer their time in it. And I would like to direct staff, though, to provide a presentation and some policy for discussion about volunteer time off and how we can incentivize volunteering with more of our city staff.
Councilman Old, can you put that in the form of a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
However it needs to be worded.
I have a motion, a second, directing city staff to come up with a policy regarding
Volunteer time off.
Time off. Any council discussion regarding that?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Wait and see what the staff comes up with. Right?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We'll get on that. Any other items, council?
In keeping with what we started at the last meeting, the public comments, I have went back through those and captured those, and have some responses to some that asked for responses, or needed clarification. So there were on the portion in the landmark hearing, there were 4 individuals that made comments. Several of those comments were very similar. It was they were in favor of the landmark designation, but were concerned about the language of the plaque. One specifically is Mr. Covington asked the question. My question is, do you really want to have the word Sodom and Gomorrah? It was bad, but not sure it should be compared to biblical times. Sedalia has a rich history and thinks we should steer away from this. We have more pride than that. Councilwoman Babagas on that point asked for a point of clarification, and that if council votes in favor of the designation, are we voting on the wording? Director Simmons said no, the wording on the plaque is up to the applicant. It was pointed out, though, that these comments, including the other ones made, were on the record, would be made available to them. So as an update on that, after the hearing, we noted an update to the language presented by the applicant, and it no longer includes the reference to Sodom and Gomorrah. So we appreciate those comments, and no longer there. Harry Holford, 1408 South Barrett, on the radio every morning, taking Charlie's place after the last meeting, had several people calling in. He put it out there that he hears people are not coming here to do business. So he said several of you are hanging out there in the back and posting on Facebook, but will not get up and talk. They said as citizens, business owners, property owners, they are afraid of retaliation. Is that what you all wanted them to feel? I know a lot of you, and I do not think so. I know a guy that had quite a few rental houses. A guy was going to come in and get, that the deal fell through because of the neighbors complaining, frivolous complaints. Maybe a neighbor doesn't like another. The rumor around town is that you complain enough, you can run them off and buy the property, or the city will get the property. I have, sorry. Yeah. I have talked to the mayor and about how to talk to people. Like when I go up to the city administrator's office to get some prints or something, I get talked at and not to. As a response, I do not recall Mr. Holford coming to my office and having a conversation with him. You say, he went on to say, you say you want people to come and talk to you, but until we get more transparency, they're afraid to. I had to get Bob Hiller to get my prints that I paid $800 for. I was told they were not my property anymore. Why was someone else able to get my prints? Response. We apologize for this. Upon follow-up after this comment was made, the answer was when asked for them back, the response was that the city needed to retain them to conduct the inspections from and for record keeping on the permit. Staff admittedly should have, but did not think of simply making a copy. After this was brought to Councilman Hiller's attention, he brought the request back to staff, and a copy was made to resolve the concern. Again, we apologize for the inconvenience. Please do not hesitate to continue to bring these items to your council member and or administration's attention so that we can resolve them. Learn from them,
and use as coachable moments. Related to this matter, we are working to implement systems to allow for electronic plan submissions, which will eliminate the expense of printing multiple paper copies and the inconvenience of delivering them. He went on to say we need a city and a county that wants to thrive, and right now it is broke, and I am concerned. I do not know if 2 or 4 year terms make a difference, but we got to get it fixed somehow. Gary Lowball, 821 South Arlington, he made a comment that I take exception to the responses that because we did not attend the meetings, we do not have concerns now. I do not think this was a good answer. Response, I am sorry that you did not find my response adequate. The information was presented over approximately 20 hours of public meetings, so I did not think it was practical to try and repeat everything. Therefore, I tried to give a concise answer to specific questions while also directing individuals where they can go for more information. Please do not hesitate to contact me to go over any information you are missing. He went on to say, as far as term limits, I am going to vote no, but that is for everybody's decision. He went on, as my concern is that when any of these ordinances come up, did any of council members call people of their ward and call them to encourage them to be at the meeting? My response, I am not aware if council members directly called individuals to encourage them to be at the meeting. The agendas for every council meeting are posted on the website. A link is posted on Facebook and X, formerly Twitter. Citizens are also encouraged to register to receive text messages and or emails directly as well. David Goodson, 1640 Hedge-Apple Drive. I would like to point out to you one more time so that maybe it will get through to you guys, that Mayor Dawson, you have Facebook Live running back here. I have it on my personal page. Why do you not put it up on the city's page? It should be public. It should be live. I know you guys did not want to do it because Albert Riney requested it over and over. Squash that. It should be up. Response. As pointed out in the comment, Mayor Dawson does present the meetings on Facebook. Tonight, he was unable to because he had prior engagements. And when
I was up in the city at the hospital for the afternoon, so
yeah.
So didn't make it back in time to get the thing up.
But the vast majority of the meetings he does put up on Facebook. In addition, the meeting is put out live on GoToMeeting and recorded through that medium. These recordings are then downloaded and posted on YouTube. The choice to use GoToMeeting has nothing to do with Albert Riney requesting Facebook be in the sole media. As explained to him, the systems to integrate the cameras, sound system, and presentation computers with the virtual meeting software of GoToMeeting was established during the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to continue to conduct city business while complying with the assembly and social distancing mandates, while also staying in compliance with the state sunshine law, the city needed to have a method for two-way video communication among the mayor and council, while also affording public access without being in the same room. GoToMeeting, when integrated with the cameras, sound system, and host presentation computer, would accomplish each of these, where Facebook would certainly be suitable to handle parts, but not all of the challenges. Even after the end of the pandemic, apologize, I lost my space. I'm sorry. Even after the end of the pandemic, sometimes individual council members are not able to attend meetings in person. Therefore, continuation of utilization of these systems allows them to participate remotely. Likewise, there have been occasions where outside entities have made presentations to council through this medium. The link for the public to join is on every agenda, which again is accessible through the website, Facebook, X, text, and emails, and only requires internet access. Further, as mentioned, the recording is placed on YouTube to refer back to at anyone's convenience. Further, as pointed out in the comments, since there are already options for Facebook Live productions, if someone prefers that method, the option is available. Next comment from Mr. Goodson was, Bob, I am the one that put out there that the timing was suspicious. I said that because it is a low turnout because we only have a couple things to vote on, so you have a better chance getting something passed. As a response, the April election is the time set aside for municipal issues such as mayor and council. He then went on, also, I respectfully disagree with your figures. If you go to statute 115077 and 115124, the city will still pay even if there is no one on the ballot. Response. I appreciate the state statute section references so that I can go directly to them to help clear up any confusion and or ensure that we are following them correctly. I reviewed these sections along with the other related sections. Section 115.077 does relate to the city must offset the cost of an election that it calls for. Further, Section 115.124 does contain an exception that would not apply to Sedalia. However, what both of these cited sections do not recognize is if there are no council members or mayor's terms expiring or any question asked by Sedalia at any particular April, there is no election to be had and thereby nothing to pay for. A closer read of 115077.3 might help, where it says, quote, for each political subdivision, and a few words omitted, submitting a candidate or question at the election. Also look to 115063 and, quote, when, and emphasis on when, any question or candidate is submitted to a vote by any political subdivision, cost of the election shall be paid, end quote. Understanding the process may also help each year. As needed, council passes an ordinance to call for an election, and that is sent to the election authority to call for them to hold the election on the city's behalf. Again, if no such election is called for, there are no costs to pay. Mr. Goodson then went on to say, you may ask why I come to these meetings. I have had a lot of people ask. I never came to a council meeting and did not care about it. Well, I was lied to. I was lied to by our city administrator and our mayor. I have it right here in an email. I came to this city and I was lied to about a sewer line and building permit, and there is no other way to say it. I have it right here in an email for everyone to see it. That is why I am here, because I have no trust. My trust was broken. Calvin sat and talked to me, and we broke bread together, shook hands, and looked me in the eye. He said, do not worry about this. The mayor and I agree. We do not need council approval, and he will take care of it. I have a letter from May of 2022 when we were first looking at this project that they would support no building permit. You guys were lied to. That is the way a lot of businesses feel. As a response, Mayor Dawson and I both regret how this turned out. However, the assertion that you were lied to is a gross overstatement. Interested parties should look at the entirety of the communications. We presented a letter of support in May of 2022 for the project. In this letter, we clearly said at the time we would work with you to identify and coordinate to provide water and sewer to your project. We went on to point out that normally the cost to extend the main would be borne by the project. Quote, however, as an incentive to support your project, Mayor Dawson and I would recommend to council for their final approval that the city bear the cost to get the sewer and water laterals extended from the mains to your property line, end quote. We continued stating that, quote, final approval can only be given by city council in a public meeting. Therefore, it is common for us to approach confidential projects such as this in this manner until you are ready for a public announcement. Then we will seek formal approval of our recommendation to council, end quote. It is important to note that the public groundbreaking ceremony celebration was held with a press release issued on June 30th of 2023, making the project public. Then on this matter, as I recall from direct discussions in July of 2023, Mr. Goodson was needing an answer on this piece quickly. Therefore, Mayor Dawson and I discussed it in relation to the indications of the project of the investment and jobs creation and generated the email mentioned where I indicated that, quote, Mayor Dawson and I agree that the city can and will cover the cost to getting the water line across the road and to your property line. Further, we agree that he has this authority and thereby we do not need to take it to council, end quote. As a side note, this part would be coming from an enterprise fund, which is why we agreed that he had the authority on this part, but not the permit fees. My email went on with, I would leave it up to Mr. Goodson and his contractor to work out if we should do the work or reimburse him for the work. I concluded with a statement that it is approved and the city is committed to cover the cost. Again, as I recall, this was to provide an answer to Mr. Goodson, an answer Mr. Goodson needed quickly. Then, as I recall, about August 21, Mr. Goodson asked about getting the permit fees for the project waived. I indicated to Mr. Goodson that this was done sparingly as an economic development incentive and would require council action as part of the development agreement. I asked Mr. Goodson and he provided a memo officially requesting them to be modified or deleted. In this letter, Mr. Goodson referred to the, quote, large amount of sales tax on building materials, end quote, from the project and, quote, elimination of this fee will allow us to focus more on timely project completion and creating additional good paying jobs for our community, end quote. Mr. Goodson then emailed me on September 1 requesting to move the request from the September 5 meeting to the next one as Councilman Bliss was in support of the request and was not going to be able to be at the 5th meeting. In this email, Mr. Goodson indicated, though, that he needed to have work inspected, so asked if that could happen without permits or if he would need to pay for the permits and then if council would reimburse. I responded that I did not see a problem moving the item to the next meeting, however, to not delay the projects, he would need to pay for the permits, and then if council approved, he would be reimbursed. Mayor Dawson and I took a development agreement negotiation to council. We recommended a development agreement to incentivize the project as per the press release announcement with the extension of the water line, waiving all water and sewer connection fees, as well as reimbursing building permit fees, which at that time was $28,241 based on a $4.5 million estimated building cost. As indicated at each step, I and Mayor Dawson did work diligently to find creative ways to show the requisite public purpose in compliance with council established policies of but-for measurements, and we both recommended approval. Council, as a body, objected to the reimbursement of permit fees and directed me to remove that from the development agreement, and they formally approved the balance of the agreement. I tried to call Mr. Goodson and discuss, but could not reach him. So rather than delay, I sent him an email explaining with a copy of the agreement they approved. This agreement included as quid pro quo, Mr. Goodson agreeing to what was stated in the press release as what was promised to secure the incentives of building the approximately 50,000 square foot facility in the industrial park constituting an investment of $8 to $10 million, retain 48 existing employees, and add 5 new employees over the next 5 to 10 years. The city would extend the water and sewer and also waive all connection fees. There was a provision of if the project did not go forward and the jobs were not maintained as promised, the city would have to be reimbursed the cost of extending the water line. Pursuant to this provision, to document the jobs at this location, a provision was included to provide copies of the quarterly suited tax reports for this location. Mr. Goodson responded back through email requesting some changes on September the 20th to reduce the number of jobs from the combined 53 to 36 and make the reporting annual instead of quarterly. Further, to reduce the potential reimbursement if the project did not perform to $25,000. I responded the same day that the mayor had the latitude to make the changes except to reduce the clawback amount. If Mr. Goodson was agreeable with leaving the clawback amount, I would talk to the mayor and get back to him quickly. But if he wanted to pursue the reduced clawback, we would take it to the next council meeting. I went on to explain that we did not expect the clawback to ever come into play, and it was just a way to show the taxpayers the reason for the incentive being provided, and our way of showing everyone that we were not just giving away public funds for no legitimate reason. I did not hear back from Mr. Goodson, so I followed up on the 28th and still did not hear back, so Mayor Dawson and I took the question back to council on October 2nd. Council, as a body, declined lowering the clawback. I communicated this back to Mr. Goodson the next day, and he replied with his disappointment and that he would, quote, politely decline, end quote, the offer council put on the table, to which I replied that I was sorry to hear that. Now, where does that leave this? I believe that what council approved by ordinance is still on the table. This does get the water line extended to the project at the city's cost and also waives the connection fees for water and sewer. Mr. Goodson would just have to sign an agreement that he will do what he said he would do when soliciting this incentive. Beyond that, if council would like to change their collective minds and approve something different, I will, as always, faithfully execute their decision.
So I'm going to stop you right here. I've been approached by a couple of council members that wanted to revisit this. So if anybody wants to go back and amend this agreement or revisit it, I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I'd like a motion to discuss.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and second.
When was that?
What was the motion? What's that?
I guess my question for point of clarification is, when would it be discussed at the, do you want staff to put something together as far as a?
Let's just discuss now.
Oh.
You guys,
we know the particular areas.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Right. Whatever.
So we want to waive water and sewer, or do we want to waive building permit fees?
Can I get a price point on each item?
The water and the extension of the water line was estimated to me at $40,000 to $60,000. The connection fees for water and sewer, I don't know, they're hundreds of dollars. I don't know those off the top of my head. The permit fees were $28,241, and I think there's been a couple more since then. So it's probably in the neighborhood of 29, maybe 30,000 at this point.
I'd like to make a motion to allow Mr. Benson to kind of speak, and maybe we can have a civil conversation since this is an issue that affects him as well.
Do you have a point of information you can address?
As in, basically make the motion of a point of, okay, so I'll make a motion of point of information
Okay.
and allow Mr. Goodson to speak so we can have a conversation.
So, Mayor, there was a motion, but not a second. Do you?
Do I have a second?
Thank you.
Any council discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do I need, I'm David Goodson, and if I do the address,
Yeah, you, go ahead.
1640 Hedge Apple Drive, Sedalia. Thank you for being willing to discuss this. The water line is not near 40,000. I was quoted $19,750. The water line, however, was not where we thought it was, by where the city thought it was. It was sitting back on Stribling's property. So we've had to extend it a little further. I do not know that cost because we just turned it on. I have not seen the bill, but it's not considerably more. It was, like say, around $19,750 from BMP excavation. So I would anticipate maybe $3,000 to $5,000 additional for it being sitting back on Stribling. Thank goodness Stribling was a good partner of ours and allowed us to cross their property.
Water and sewer?
No, the sewer is not really an issue because the sewer was already right there. All we did was had to tap it. There was nothing needed to be modified on the sewer. That was a straightforward deal. So it was really that and a building permit. And the building permit, our cost for the building plus, the mechanical, electrical, heating and air. And I would just like to say we spent over $1,300,000 or $4 just on steel. Heating and air is well over $500,000, electrical well over $500,000. All the trades, the overhead cranes going into the building, these things. The building itself was around $4 million, but the concrete was another $975,000. All of which sales tax is being collected on all those items. So this project's generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales tax revenue. Not to mention, when we go into that location, we should produce hopefully in the neighborhood of $12 million a year. Hopefully just continue to rise from there. But that's sales tax revenue we're going to be collecting on behalf of the city of Sedalia now instead of collecting it in the county where we currently do. So there's going to be some increases coming from us in that neighborhood as well. We just really felt like I felt like I was under the impression last time I came to the council and asked for the permit, I wrote that I was just going through a procedure like, hey, we've all got this thing talked about. This is an incentive. I didn't come with a huge proposal, numbers or anything. I thought we were just going in to say, will you do it? You guys are going to say yes. It was just a formal procedure for the process. I did not know that it was not. I didn't know that you guys weren't informed of everything. I do appreciate, over the last course of several weeks, I've met with every single councilman in person, some of you by phone as well, and I feel like you guys are much more informed of things than maybe you were when these decisions were asked of you. So I appreciate you taking time today to do that. This project's huge to us. The incentive deal with the $50,000 fine if we failed a fire inspection over the next 5 years or we didn't maintain X number of employees. If I drop employees, I've got a bigger problem than a water line. My wife and I own this company. We're not a publicly traded company. There's no investors. There's no partners. It's a solely owned, homegrown Sedalia company. And when we looked at building this, last year my company serviced 219 cities across 15 states. And when we looked at building this, the bulk of my business does not come from Sedalia. I truly appreciate all my local business, truly appreciate it, and we need it. But the bulk of my business is well outside the perimeter of Sedalia. And currently we have projects going all around the country. And when we looked at where to locate, we already own some property in Callaway County, and we also own some property that borders Callaway and Boone County, right down the middle, several acres there. And when we were looking at building, actually Boone County and Callaway combined gave us an incredible incentive. I will tell you guys what you probably know. It's much easier for me to hire an engineer in Columbia or hire a professional in Columbia than it is to get him to relocate to Sedalia. It's a challenge for us. We're currently trying to relocate someone we just relocated someone from Jefferson City who will start working with us May the 1st, and we're trying to recruit someone from Springfield, Missouri to come work for us. So we're actively recruiting people to Sedalia, but it's a much tougher job. But when we looked at this and then we said, hey, if we can get the permits and we get our water line, that kind of makes it look good, and even though financially it was a much better deal, but to have our corporate headquarters in our backyard meant something to me. I was born in Bothell Hospital, graduated Smith Cotton High School, and I care about this community. And that was a big reason to do it. If it was just financial, we'd have put it in the Boone Callaway offer because it was much better from a tax incentive, and it was much better for the infrastructure. You know, I had to put in all my own fire hydrants. I knew that going in, but I had to put in all my own fire hydrants, and that's a substantial cost, 3 of them. You know, we moved them back for 2 variances in fire roads. One of those items, which I still find absolutely ridiculous, but we did it. You know, we've had a lot of expenses we didn't anticipate. Not because of construction, but because of things like the extra concrete fire variances and that sort of thing. So all I'm asking is for the council to strongly consider doing what I understood to be is what we would do. Don't charge me for my building permits and give me the water line hookup. That was just that simple, that clean. That was all we were asking for. And was under the impression would be delivered to us. And, yes, I did decline that offer because I felt like I'd be a very bad business decision to have a $50,000 fine hanging over my head for a $21,000 water line. It just didn't make sense. So,
May I ask, Mr. Goodson, may I ask, what is the bottom line amount that you're wanting, the council to reimburse? Or?
yes, just, the water line. The water line cost, which I was quoted by BMP, $19,750. It's gonna be a little higher because, like I say, we all found out 2 weeks ago that water line wasn't where the city thought it was at, wasn't where we thought it was at, engineers thought it was at. So it had to be extended about 75 foot further. So that cost, and then just don't charge me for your building permits.
We don't know what that water line is gonna cost with that addition?
I would venture to say $25,000. It was
Additional?
It was the additional total. We ran about 75 foot more water line, but it was, had to be 90 down because there's an elevation change. And then we got to do our landscaping for stripping, but that was just a courtesy I offered for them being gracious enough to let us cross the property lines.
The 25 plus the 28.
Yes, the building permits. And on the building permits, like I say, you guys are going to recoup that back in sales tax off just the products going into the building tenfold, at least tenfold. I mean, the steel was well over, you know, it was well over $1 million. The heating and air rooftop units, crane components, and not to mention all the equipment that we're purchasing to go into the building that we'll continuously pay property tax on. You know,
Do you recall? I think there was some more building permits after the.
Yes, there was, you know, of course, the electrical, the mechanicals, that stuff. I do not know those totals yet because the contractors have to bill me for them, and they'll be a line item at some point.
I think that 28 included those, but I think there was some signs, your outdoors.
Yes, I have sign permits.
And I want to say they were maybe $2,000.
Yes, for the sign permits for us to put our signs up on the building.
The 30 plus 25.
Yes. Somewhere right in that neighborhood. I didn't come prepared with those numbers, but it's right in that realm.
Generating millions.
Absolutely. We do millions of dollars in sales. Yes.
So we do need to have some type of reporting if we're gonna make a deal, just so that the public knows it is transparent. I think we can probably get something,
And the 941.
We were talking about quarterly, and you said you wanted to do it annually, but you understand that we just need something, David.
Sure.
That we can hang our hat on to say to everyone, hey, nothing.
No, absolutely. You know, compliance is a big deal to us. You know, we have to go through UL compliance. We go through OSHA compliance. We'll soon enter the city fire inspections into our system. We got DOT compliance for our trucks. We've got all these things we do. And then for us to have to go into our administrative office and say, hey, now on top of that, every quarter, you guys got to round up all these 941s and you got to send them down to the city. You guys didn't have time for that. I certainly didn't have time for that.
So give me a little bit of grace here, because Kelvin or someone may say, hey, Steve, we really have to have that on a quarterly basis. But I wouldn't mind if we did it, similar type of reporting annually.
Yeah.
What I might suggest, Mayor, is, and I'll remind council, all agreements with cities have to be in writing. We can't just do a verbal agreement. What I might recommend is if it is the will of the council this evening to maybe direct staff to pull together a revised agreement that would address some of the terms that are being discussed this evening, that we can take back to Mr. Goodson, get his, make sure that he's good with it, and then bring it back to the council for approval, where you can see everything, kind of in writing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll make it.
I would entertain
But,
it.
but I want to ask David one more question, sir. So I don't recall, I heard something about a $50,000 fine if you didn't pass a fire.
Yeah, it
Was that in there?
I thought there was, and I'm doing this off memory, I didn't bring it in, but, if I didn't, if employees, I think it was fire inspection, had 180 days to make any repairs to a fire inspection, I believe.
It's just gonna be normal inspection, we'll get through that, there's no.
Yeah.
Listen, we're not trying to trick anybody, and we're building a world-class facility. I mean,
I've understood that from the get-go.
In answer to that question, there was 3 sections to that agreement. I did the research in preparation, but there was 3 sections to the agreement. The first section of the agreement was that he agreed to do the project, retain the jobs and add jobs. The second section was that he agreed to comply with codes. The third section was that the city would then extend the water line and waive all connection fees to the water and sewer on top of extending the water line. And that's where the clawback came back in, and the clawback specifically says if you don't do section 1, then the clawback happens. But there was not a clawback if you didn't comply with the fire code.
Yeah, section 1, just build the building.
Build the building, employ the people.
That's what the point I was trying to make. There really wasn't any non-code compliance.
So question to our lawyer, is the correct thing to do is to ask Mr. Goodson to write up what he's wanting and present that to the staff, city council and the staff, so that we can then say, okay, this is what he's actually saying he wants. Bottom line, this is the dollar amount that you're wanting. Would you agree to it?
Right. If the council wants staff to work out, a negotiation, with Mr. Goodson on that, then that's how we normally do things. We, we'll reach out to whoever it is that we might be a contracting partner, find out what terms they want. We know what terms the city wants. If there's any sort of a disconnect at all, that's what we bring to you in a closed session for negotiated contracts, so you can hear what the gaps are and whether you want to close the gaps or if you have a different solution. And then we take that back to our contracting partners, just until we can get to a point where there is a deal in principle that ultimately then comes back to this council as a agenda item for approval in a public meeting.
I so moved to.
I think there was a motion and a second already. Was there not?
I do want to say something to you, David, back. There's a motion and a second, but before we do that, I want to say, under no circumstance was anybody intentionally lying to you. Never. This whole process was complicated, but we've been, I think, in your court, or trying to be in your court during this whole period of time. And so moving forward, please understand that the golden rule to some degree, hey, do unto others, you do unto them. Let's move forward with a positive mental attitude, and I think I'm really glad to see that we're going forward.
And Steve, I appreciate that, but that was truly how I felt. We never talked about any stipulation. There was never, with Calvin and I, never did we talk about there was to be followed up with, you got to do this, this, and this. That was never discussed verbally in an email, in person, and then I get that. It was just kind of a
We apologize.
kick.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I was involved in a lot of that, but I want to make sure you understand that going forward, I want to grow this city. And I
Steve,
want
that
to
would be it.
about this city.
I think that's what we need to do.
Your Honor, can I ask for what that motion was? Whoever made the motion.
Directing staff to go ahead and come back with an agreement outlining the terms that we discussed here for approval.
Okay. So can I second that?
It's been seconded.
It's already been.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we will get that done.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. see, Mr. Goodson went on to, with the comment that, to be clear, it was my engineer, not my architect, that said he would not work in Sedalia. I heard it again today from a supplier. Problems don't change until people change. As a response, understand the clarification and would extend the same sentiment to them that I would enjoy the opportunity to meet with him or anyone else with this sentiment in effort to find out how we can improve. Specifics would be instrumental in identifying what needs to change. I continue to meet with individuals with complaints and have investigated them with the approach of we can always do better, so looking for what that is. We remain open to suggestions on how to address these concerns. Debbie Covington, 2601 East 12th Street, made the comment, or brought forth the comments, I will not be able to be at the Dare Car Show because I will be working at the Helping Hands, as I do every Saturday because of the ordinances you passed. The ordinances are extreme and complete overreach. Response, I, as I am sure all of council, appreciate your volunteer work. We would appreciate specifics on which ordinances you consider extreme and complete overreach. Specific suggestions or solutions would be helpful. Mr. Hiller, you have also referred to us as being keyboard warriors, so another reason why I have put this together is because I want to tell you this to your face so that you cannot call me a keyboard warrior. She was born here in 1981. Her family business has been here for over 35 years. I believe that we have a lot of good employees that work for the city. I believe they are stuck between their jobs and a tyrannical administration. Response, when Ms. Covington brought me a concern, I intervened on the company's behalf to take her word that they were not selling any retail items. Over the last several years, our eyes have been open to many issues, and I would like to list a few of them since I am limited on time and they are in no particular order. Our code enforcement officer is out of control with a green light from our city administrator. As a response, as indicated, we know we certainly can improve, and we follow up on complaints to find ways to do that. Toward that end, we appreciate specifics. She went on, our city is taking and hoarding property and real estate. Response, the city has not taken any property since I have been here, and to my knowledge has never used the eminent domain process. The city has purchased collector's deeds on several distressed properties through the tax sale process. The reasons for this is because the tax liens and other encumbrances on the titles are more than the property is worth. Also, many of these are absentee owners or individuals that have passed with no local heirs. In order to get these properties redeveloped, someone has to obtain them and clean up the titles. This is a lengthy process that often costs more than the property is worth. Therefore, private builders will not purchase them at the tax sale. Since no one else will take these on, they continue to sit and no one maintains them. Therefore, the city has to dump resources into trying to keep them at least mowed. Rather than allowing this to perpetuate year after year, the city started purchasing such properties that have effectively negative value. The city then spends time and money to attempt to clean up the title. Once the title is cleaned, then we try to encourage builders to take them and redevelop. We have had some success with this and continue with the lengthy process of cleaning titles and actively promoting private redevelopment. We would greatly appreciate anyone interested in obtaining any of these properties to contact us. We will gladly get them into somebody's hands that will take care of them and develop them. Her next comment, we have city and city council officials and elected officials using their position for their own personal gain, including our mayor wanting an increase of 5 times his salary and a car. Response, I am not aware of any officials using their position for their own personal gain, and we go to great lengths to ensure this to include adherence to the required reporting to the Missouri Ethics Commission. Specifically, I am also not aware of the mayor ever asking for an increase of 5 times his salary. Although I would say that even if his salary was increased 5-fold, it would still be well under market rate for the time and expertise he commits to the city business, and would only then be comparable to, say, a county commissioner or other elected official. She went on to make the comment, city having little dialogue with public unless a private meeting, which is rare. Response, I am aware of elected officials making themselves available on a routine basis. Likewise, much of many of the staff's time is spent engaging the public. Her next comment, our roads are horrible. Response, everyone has continued to be encouraged to report potholes. Beyond that, as discussed in the strategic planning and budget development process, council takes great care in allocating available funding to balance all priorities and get the most out of the funds entrusted to the city by the taxpayers. Her next comment, the city is unwilling to sit down with county officials but quick to sue. Response, city officials have and will continue to meet with county officials. There have been some requested meetings that would have violated the Sunshine Law that council declined. Further, the statement of quick to sue is an overstatement. Yes, the city did file a petition with the courts to have a dispute over what the law says settled by a judge. This is, after all, the system set up for a civilized nation. Also, this action was only taken after discussions with the commissioners failed to reach agreement on what the law does say. Since there was a genuine disagreement, the city asked the courts to tell us who is correct. Council has been clear, though, that the responsibility of keeping citizens safe is paramount and is baffled by the county commissioners' resistance to working together towards that. Interested parties should be aware that the court filings are a matter of public record and are easily reviewed on CaseNet. Her next comment, existing businesses such as our own wanting to build new buildings but running into every roadblock imaginable to discourage. Mind you, that is on East 5th, which would do wonders to beautify East 5th Street. Response, I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss with Ms. Covington roadblocks they are encountering so that we can remove them while still protecting public safety. Her next comment, long-term businesses wanting to leave Sedalia and set up shop elsewhere. I can attest to this because we are one of them, along with other businesses avoiding Sedalia because of the reputation of city administration and code enforcement. Response, again, let's work together to change the reputation. She went on with citizens moving out of town for the same reasons, and then went on our mayor and city administrator pushing city council to become a charter city and asking for over $100,000 in advertising and other wasteful spending to push their agenda. Yet you are up in arms about $2,500 to put your name on a ballot. Response, a city charter option was presented to council during strategic planning a couple of years ago. The discussion was around some of the state statutes for third-class cities are outdated and or designed with smaller cities in mind. It was brought to our attention that apparently Sedalia is one of, if not the, largest city still operating under this form of government for these reasons. Therefore, staff investigated and presented to council what the process would be to look at this. The process involves much community engagement and input into designing a charter for how the city should be run. Ultimately, it requires voter approval for this important decision. Thereby, it is quite simply a way for the Sedalia citizens to determine how the city should be ran instead of the state legislature, while still within the state statutes. In order to bring about specifics on why and what could be different under a different form of government, a line item was created in the budget for primarily legal consulting to identify the possibilities and the costs of the elections that would have to take place. These funds were not spent last year and were taken out of this year's budget through the council work session. Our next comment, low income and elderly losing their home for the same ordinances that our city officials don't live by. And let me mention the members of management that don't live in Sedalia. How can it make sense that you push extreme ordinances and guidelines, yet you don't live here? I have heard story after story of sick citizens and some with cancer, elderly, single mothers and fathers losing their homes over the same ordinances some of our elected officials don't even follow. In my opinion, you should live here to answer day in and day out for the devastation you create. Response, our political system ensures that elected officials that pass the ordinances that are required to live in the wards they represent. Many employees, including myself, do not live in the city limits. However, that does not mean we are any less a part of the community and any less committed or vested in the betterment of the community we are called to serve. Our next comment, the shutdown of the Washington Street Bridge, that is a major concern, but it seems this has not been a priority. I appreciate Mr. Irwin's presentation about the fire stations, and I'm glad we got to see that because we almost missed it because you guys had your public session, then had your closed session, then came back out and had another public session we did not know you were going to have because you had already adjourned your meeting. Response. The Washington Street Bridge is a priority as evidenced by the time, attention, and resources allocated to the matter. The meeting you spoke of was not adjourned. In accordance with the Sunshine Law, there can be two parts of the same meeting. A closed session is allowed within the open session. Regardless of where the closed session is on the agenda or called for, council must call to order in an open session, vote to go to closed session, and then come back out to an open session before adjourning the meeting. Most of the time, the agenda is intentionally set to have very little, if any, business after the closed session in respect for the public and staff in attendance to not have to sit around indefinitely while the closed business is dealt with. Therefore, normally when council comes out of the closed session, they only have the adjournment that has to be done in the open session that is still going on. Sometimes there is some business to conduct after the closed session, but not usually. In this rare case, some items were brought up in the first part of the meeting, namely the fire station locations and the bridge. That information was previously presented in a council committee meeting. This would not have been appropriate for the closed session, but all of council would benefit from this information in light of the comments made during the good and welfare portion of the meeting immediately prior to the closed session, while it was still fresh on everyone's mind. Therefore, Chief Irwin was asked to repeat the presentation after the closed session in the open part of the meeting. Further, specifically for transparency's sake, council agreed that this presentation would be useful at the next meeting as well, along with any updates. Her next comment, there is very little honesty and transparency from our city, and this is coming from a citizen and business standpoint. Response, we go to great lengths are gone to in the name of transparency. And there was a time in here where there was some confusion. Mayor tried to tell her that her time was up. Councilman Oldham was trying to make a motion to suspend the rules to allow more time. Ms. Covington would not wait for council to act to grant such time, instead elevated her voice and continued talking over the mayor and council members, trying to get her attention to grant her more time. She went on and you know, again, some of this was talking over each other, but, it was, why would you adjourn a public meeting to open up later after 80-plus people had left and were locked out? No one expects perfection. No one expects to not have ordinances, but we do expect to have more compassionate and rational way to make change. Mayor Dawson tried again to get her to stop so that council could grant her more time. She continued talking over him even louder. The mayor, talking to council, pointed out there was a motion on the floor as she talked over him. We expect transparency and honesty from our city officials and city administration. We all want better for our town, but on a human level. Chief Woolery at that point walked up beside her to gain control of the meeting, and she stopped and walked away from the podium. Mayor Dawson then continued with, we have a motion on the floor. Oldham restated his motion to suspend the rules to allow her 3 more minutes. At this point, her attention was gained that this is what they were trying to do, and she started walking back up to the podium. She was asked to wait while the second was obtained and a roll call vote was taken. After the vote, Mayor Dawson told her she had 3 more minutes. She then continued, there is very little honesty or transparency from our city administrator and elected official. Why would you adjourn a public meeting to open it up again after 80-plus people left and were locked out? Response, as explained, the meeting was not adjourned as required by the Sunshine Law. Likewise, the information was repeated the next meeting specifically for transparency's sake. She then went on with, no one expects perfection, no one expects to not have ordinances, but we do expect to have more compassionate and rational way to make change. We expect honest and transparency from our elected officials and the city administrator. I have so much more to say just now. Just know we are aware and we are awake. In closing, we need to get back to where it all started. Instead of serving yourselves, get back to serving people. God bless you. Becca Lestrada, 608 West 3rd, made a comment. She asked the question about the Katy Depot to Liberty Park connection. I see where you accepted the grant tonight. Is there any way you can show a rendering? We are concerned about where everyone is going to park. Just want to give everyone an idea of what it is going to look like. I'm sorry. Response. Part of the grant funding is to design the trail/sidewalk. As the design is completed, there will be more details to show. Know that council will have to take action before construction begins in an open meeting. Chad Damlow, 2407 Dennis. He started off with, I would like to make a request at the beginning of my time to allow the city council members and city administrator to respond. Mayor Dawson explained that the way that it normally goes is to go ahead and make his comments, and if council wants to make a motion to suspend the rules, they will. He talked over the mayor saying, we will get comments by Kelvin Shaw later, which is bullshit. Response, the comments are intended to give answers to questions raised during good and welfare or clarification to clear up misunderstandings. For many of these, in order to provide accurate and complete responses, research is necessary. This is why we take the comments into consideration, conduct any necessary research, and then provide responses in the next public session. He then proceeded talking over the mayor that he had a meeting with you, Mayor Kelvin Shaw, and HR Director. 35 days after the meeting, my vehicle was towed from my property. It was on my property. It was not legally licensed, and I understand that. I had a meeting with you to discuss code enforcement issues, and you invited Kelvin Shaw and HR. I was told there would not be retaliation from that meeting. Therefore, 35 days later, my vehicle was towed from my property. I know none of you care, but that was my property taken off of my property. Response, we do care, and as such did follow up on Mr. Damlow's complaint about code enforcement. Upon hearing the complaint of retaliation at this meeting, I investigated that as well. On June 20th, 2023, a letter was sent to the owner of the property out of 2407 Dennis Road, and a copy to, quote, tenant. end quote, for property maintenance issues to include a Dodge Caravan with expired license plate from 2022. There is no indication the code official knew who the tenant was, and this code official was not involved with the reason for the original complaint. The case notes indicate the case was followed up on 5 occasions dating from June 30th through August 7th with no evident progress of correcting the issues. According to the pictures captured, sometime between June 30th and July 13th, the plates were evidently changed on the Caravan. These different plates were registered to a different vehicle and expired in August. On August 9, a warrant was requested and signed by a judge to tow the vehicle. Upon execution of the tow warrant on August 16, dispatch was asked to run the plate and VIN for the warrant. At this time is when staff indicated they were first aware who the vehicle was registered to. Of note, the date between the initial notice to tenant and the date of the execution of the warrant were 57 days apart. This would not match up to the assertion that this action was taken 35 days after the complaint. Beyond that, I cannot prove or disprove this action was in retaliation of making a complaint on the building code side. However, administration continues to remind all staff that retaliation will not be tolerated. His next comment, I met with a lot of city council members, and I do not know if they understand or even care about me, but I do care about our citizens, and you guys in the middle do not seem to care about our citizens. Kelvin Shaw has a smug-ass look on his face, and all he cares about is making sure his son stays the assistant chief, which is complete bullshit, and I will say it until I die because I know retaliation is coming. I will guarantee that the city will be coming to my house next week, and that is fine, but you know what it is not worth it. We as citizens cannot put up with the retaliation that retaliation is going on to continue to do at our own houses, at our own businesses, at our own place of work. I will not live in fear. I have 4 boys that I love dearly to drive around this city and not be harassed. Response, I have no ability to make sure my son stays the deputy chief, fire chief. I have been clear and transparent with all of the mayors and city council members about my family relationship with D.C. Shaw. To be clear, Daniel Shaw was an employee of the city prior to me. When I applied for the finance director position, I made it clear on the application and during the interview that my son worked for the city. Of course, they already knew this, but I wanted to be sure. After making the move from Warrensburg to closer to my home in Sedalia in 2014 and serving out my resignation notice period with Warrensburg, no, I was not fired as some have slanderously been spread. The then fire chief promoted Daniel Shaw to a captain position through the competitive testing process. Also, the chief made a presentation to council during his strategic plan to create a position for training and code review during this presentation directly to council. He indicated that Daniel Shaw was the only one that expressed interest in the position and was well qualified for it. When the city administrator left in September of 2017, I was asked if I would be interested in the city administrator position. After much thought, I said no. The mayor then asked me to serve double duty of finance director and interim city administrator while we searched for a new city administrator. During this search, while I was serving as interim, the mayor and some city council members asked me on more than one occasion to reconsider and put my hat in the ring. Ultimately, I agreed to filling the role as city administrator in November of 2017. Before making that decision, the city engaged legal counsel to review and determine if me serving as city administrator would be in conflict in any way with my son being employed in the fire department or be considered nepotism. Legal counsel expressed an opinion no conflict would exist. To ensure transparency in the fact that all of the decision makers, being the mayor and the city council, were fully aware of the relationship, I asked that it be put in writing that my serving as city administrator would have no effect, positive or negative, on his employment with the city. I am confident that if you ask anyone involved, I have gone out of my way to not participate in or be involved in Daniel Shaw's employment or advancement within the city. In regard to further retaliation expected by Mr. Damlow, I do not believe any was taken. I certainly did not direct any and would take action against anyone that did. He went on, seeing that his time had expired, he asked for another 3 minutes. Council voted to suspend the rules to allow him another 3 minutes. He expressed appreciation to council for the extra 3 minutes. Councilman Bliss asked him to watch his language. He went on, I love this city, but when we do not allow our citizens to grow, it gives me heartache. The company I work for has been in business for 52 years, and I love my boss. I am a Grand Knight in the Knights of Columbus, but we are in the county, and we do not have to worry about the city. We as citizens cannot live in fear of what the city will bring us. I do a lot of work in the city, and when I was told what does it matter to you that you are getting paid anyway, that is a problem. We as citizens need to wake up and realize the city needs to work for us, not us working for the city. David Covington, 2601 East 12th. On the bridge, are we going to repair the bridge or rebuild the bridge? We need a bridge that is going to last another 100 years. Response, we have engaged an expert on bridges to tell us what the options are. Simply don't have an answer at this point. Viola Staten, 706 West Cooper. I have paid thousands for architectural fees, and now I have bought another building, and no one wants to come to do work on my building because of the city codes. How are we supposed to stay afloat when we are constantly paying out money for stuff? I am going to have to pay another mortgage payment, and I'm not going to be able to open up. Response. From Ms. Staten's comments and other similar situations regarding when it is necessary to engage an architect for smaller jobs, we have taken action to find alternative ways to ensure safety without requiring plans certified by a licensed professional. This should help in the future to reduce the cost of development. Also, a follow-up conversation with Ms. Staten was held to identify issues of finding a contractor. To help, a listing of contractors licensed in the city was sent to her. We know there is room for improvement and will continue to look for such improvements to be more development friendly and appreciate the suggestions.
Ready to go?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now arrive at the good and welfare section of our agenda. Each speaker is requested to step forward, clearly state their name, address, and be allotted 3 minutes to present their statement. Please note this is not a session for dialogue or debate with the council, nor is it a period for question and answers. This is a time for you to make your voice heard, for us to listen, and your statements to be entered into the public record. We ask that all remarks be kept respectful and pertinent to community matters. The first person would like to go ahead and step up, and you got 3 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Can you all hear me? Becca Lestrada, 608 West 3rd. I would like to make a suggestion. Is there any way the previous good and welfare that you have been reading, that it could be put on the agenda that would save us all a lot of time? I'm asking that question.
motion for point of information. I think that's a conversation that we could definitely entertain.
All
I
right.
think it's effective to have those responses, but we can look at ways to make it more effective and time efficient.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, come on up.
Diane Simon, I'm here with E.W. Thompson Inc. I live in Cole Camp, 17449 Brockman Avenue. I'm here to just inform you that for the next council meeting, we've got a petition for annexation we're going to be filing, and hope to bring that to public hearing for your next council meeting for the Pettis County Ambulance District's new proposed site, and the retention right there. It'll all be contiguous to the city limits, so I just want to let you know that's coming up to the next meeting for the public hearing, and then hopefully council approval thereafter.
Harry Hoford, 1408 South Ferry. I was here last week, the week before. I did like what you guys talked about, opened it up for Mr. Goodson. You know, it is a sad time. I mean, there's ways to fix this deal with the fire across the tracks. It is. There's real good ways. I mean, I know y'all got a lawsuit. Heck, everybody knows it, you know, and it all stemmed from Devin trying to go inspect the courthouse. Their rebuttal, no, you're not, whatever. She tried the same thing with me. She's one of the big problems. Her demeanor. I mean, how are you going to get a job that you don't like? She can't like her job because she's hateful to everybody she sees. You know, I mean, seriously, she is mad at the world. Arms crossed, yada, yada, yada. And if you're talking to the inspectors because you know them, then she really gets mad. And we need to look at that. We've got to go. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, something, you know. But this lawsuit deal, like I said, the money that you say they owe you, which I guess it's on paper, ain't none of y'all in here when that money was getting founded in here. If not, you've been here a long time when that was started. That money, you know, has been around a long time that didn't get paid. We know they've got a heck of a nice building out there, the city building or the county building out there where the trucks and road gears is. And I bet it's big enough to hold and house a fire truck. And I bet it's big enough to house an ambulance. So then that puts, well, hey, let's put all this aside, work together, let's start over, and can we use something like that out there? Yeah, we can. Then all you're looking at is the temporary housing and shoring up a bridge. Dude, you don't shore up a bridge. And then we get somebody saying, oh, dude, I guarantee you, your guy, he don't want no part of it that left. He don't want a damn thing to do with putting a stamp on that. He doesn't. You know what it's like, and you know what it's like putting a stamp on something. You take the responsibility and the liability. That job's going to be done. Now, are you really going to, what engineer's going to take and stamp a set of prints that's going to have $14 an hour, $16 an hour, what you're paying, guys working for the city, shore this up? I mean, do these guys really have the time to put that work in? You know, I mean, it looks to me like shoring it up ain't the deal. Let's go ahead and build, work on the new one, and utilize.
For your time is expired.
Can I get a couple more minutes?
That would be up to the council.
So I'll make motions to suspend rules because I want to give people time to speak, but I would really love them to be constructive and not just ranting. And the reason why is I want to give everybody an opportunity.
That's fine.
That's all. So I motion to suspend the rules to allow Mr. Hofer 3 more minutes.
So I have a motion to suspend the rules to allow Mr. Hofer 3 more minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
August.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Thank you. You know, I'm trying to say criticism and productive criticism because, I mean, the facility's there. Did you know that nobody, when I brought up about, you know, towing out the county, nobody's reached out to Hardy and them guys? Nobody. Didn't even cross their mind to bring it up to them. Nobody brought it up to them. Did you also know that they got a ton of money sitting in the counties? And they said they would work. They would make it happen. And he bet a dime to a dollar their response time would be, without them having to go around, they would beat them to there. I don't care if it's 2 minutes. What's a life? What's a property? You're putting water on it. You're getting something done. So, I mean, nobody reached out to them. Nobody even let them think about it or, you know, hey, let's discuss this. You know, let's work together. I mean, like I said, it's just, man, it's frustrating. You know, and anybody can come on my radio show. They can talk about great stuff in the community. Mayor's been on there. Bob's been on there. Nobody else can, but guess what? Maybe we ought to talk about some positive stuff instead of everybody complaining, because we can work this out. You know, it's just aggravating to everybody in this room, and you guys just need to, you know, pull up them big boy pants. Let's go get with the county. Let's get this figured out. Let's get some protection on the north side, and let's start working to better our community. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hofer. Who else? Come on up.
Kevin Legion at 408 West 22nd Street, and also with the Windsor Review, and I just wanted to mention if City Administrator Shaw would like to share his comments during the miscellaneous items, email those to me from the prior two meetings. I would look into seeing if the Windsor Review could post them in their entirety so the message can get out that he wants to have updated with his response. If there are any needs for edits, I would ask for his permission first before posting anything. But again, if you want to share the message that you shared at this meeting, would be happy to share them on our Facebook group if you'd like to share those with me in an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucy. Who else? Come on up.
Chad Demla, 2407 Dennis. I will keep my comments PG today. I apologize last week after hearing him back. Kind of ashamed. But that being said, those items still didn't get answered. You can state all you want that you found that there was no retaliation. Okay, so my timeline was off. Instead of 35 days, it was 55 days. You clarified that for me, correct? You did. So you clarified that for me. And I'd like, can somebody make a motion for him to respond to me?
If there can be a civil
Yeah, I just want a response that he's confirming to me that those dates are correct. And I don't need it. I don't need it. I apologize. But so you're saying that there is no retaliation. You've stated that. But how is my house the only one targeted? There is a vehicle across the street from my shop that has a 21 tag on it. 21. It's had it for the last year plus. Oh, it's on the wrong part of the town. So your code enforcement only goes down certain parts of town. Is that a correct statement? Must be, because that vehicle sits there every day, all day. So to tell you your code enforcement doesn't go down certain streets might be a correct statement, but why did they target mine? And for you to make the comment that, yes, I'm the tenant, my address, my name is on the water bill. So that is a BS, keep it PG, a BS comment. So for you to not know that information to give to your code enforcement, Devin Lake, who Harry decided to speak of earlier, who is very evil, cross arms every time anybody tries to deal with her, she will not work with people in this city. She goes around and she creates heartache for this town. I'm guessing it's directed from you. That's my statement, and I'm sure you're going to come out with a response. Now, to the other one that you didn't answer. One of your code enforcement officers told me, what does it matter? You're getting paid anyway. You decided not to respond to that one. I would like to find a response to that one. I asked you that in the meeting that we had before. I told you, the code enforcement officer, that to me is a major problem. What does it matter to me? I'm getting paid anywhere. I'm for my people that I do business for, that hire me. That's what my job is. That's what it matters.
Mr. Damler? Come on up.
Jim Markham, 21524 Main Street Road, Sedalia, Missouri. I just wanted to give you a point too, Kelvin, that in your statement with us a while ago, you pretty well said we were the bad people and you were gonna. What I'm trying to show there is that the case we're working against is a county was building something in a city. We're not building anything, haven't built anything since the 30s. So it's a different approach to what each one of us feel that the point of this suit's about. Secondly is that you probably don't know. We didn't know, I don't think there was any permits or anything for the jail when it was built. We never knew we were supposed to have permits until we bought an equity building. And then it kind of blew up from there. But to this day, we never asked your water and sewer people or anybody to ever give us an excavation permit, since we've had that since the 70s, to cross our roads. Any place that you work on the subdivision stuff, we feel that you guys are very qualified to take care of your stuff, and you will put it back for us like it belongs. So we never asked for a permit. You probably didn't know we have that permit. We didn't know you all had to have permits till you told us. And we still don't know if we do or not, but that's differently. But I just wanted to make those points of statements for you, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. All right, come on up.
Debbie Covington, 2601 East 12th. I had something written up, but I'm actually going to go off the cuff because I want to piggyback off what some others have talked about, especially when it pertains to Code Enforcement Manager Devin Lake. Like I stated before, we've been in business for over 35 years, and as a contractor, and we never had to have a retail license. And she was strong holding us into having to get a retail license. And we had, I think his name's Norman, I don't remember, but he was in the process of getting us our sign permit to put up a sign. And she was the one that kept on coming at us, you have to have a retail license, you have to have a retail license. And she wouldn't listen to reason. You have to understand that we've been in business for 35 years and we know what we do and don't need. That's where she should step in and have some dialogue with us and talk with us to know that we didn't need to have that. But she was adamant, I'm not giving you your sign permit until you get your retail license. And she sent me 2 pages of things I had to do to get a retail license. We would have to completely restructure our business and everything. I did meet with you, Kelvin. You did get back with me a few days later. And I appreciated that, and I told you I appreciated that. But when I told you the different issues that we've had with Devin Lake, you said you take responsibility for her and her actions and what she does, but she still continues to do it. And I think that's a problem. I'm not going to deny that I think it's an issue that she doesn't live here as a code enforcement manager. I will tell everybody, as I have before, how can you administer a town in codes that you don't have to adhere to? Or
you're not in the community every day. You're not going to baseball games. You're not going to the movies here, this or that and the other, to where you have to, be in front of the public. It's just, to me, it's a conflict. I still stand on the fact that there is dishonesty and lack of transparency. I want to ask for some more time and I would also like to ask for some dialogue back, because this really bothers me. And I apologize for being combative in prior city council meetings, but you have to understand, we're citizens, we're business owners, and we're very, 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 very frustrated. And it feels like...
Ms. Covington, your time has expired.
Can I get some more time?
I think this conversation could be more effective with one-on-one. I would like to ask questions, and
But I have a question about the transparency of some things that went on at the April 1st city council meeting that I feel like the public needs to hear.
Your time has expired. I'm going to ask.
I will give you my phone number. It's also public, and I would like to have a
Councilman Oldham, unless there's a motion from the floor to extend the time, which is what I need, we need to stop talking.
Is there anybody that can give a motion to give me a few more minutes? This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Covington. All right, anyone else? All right, having heard none, I will now entertain a motion to move to closed door session.
motion to move to closed door session for Renville Heights real estate and negotiated contract.
Second.
Roll call, please.
I didn't get a second, Mayor. Who got it? You? Okay. Sorry. Robinson? Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
August?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yep. I'll take that out.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. All right, we have now returned to open meeting. We have no matters to discuss. I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn this open meeting.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.